All right. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day it is. Having some slight tech issues. Apologies for the delay in starting the stream. It's going to be a little bit scuffed on the camera work, but that's fine. You don't need to see my face. I'm going to be sat more over here. How's the audio quality? I haven't had time to do my pre-stream checks. Let's go. It's Christmas V2. You're goddamn right it is. Isn't it exciting? I'm absolutely pumped. I have had a basic look through. I haven't had time to do a full read through, and I've had Facebook groups popping off, and WhatsApp groups, all of that good stuff. So I've seen bits and pieces. Someone told me that Sisters of the Thorn are dead. Someone told me that dragons are nerfed, and that's what we're running with. So what are we doing? We're busy. Got a lot of the usual faces. Good morning, it's a little after 6 a.m. for me. Greenskin King, what a great way to start your day. What a fantastic way to start the day, eh? Can't complain about that. I am so buzzed. Winslow, good to see you. Lando as well. Sisters got wrecked, good. I own, 15 of them. I'm so pleased. I did actually look at that one. I know the change on that one. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with... Let's go through the Forces of Fantasy first, because I think that's one of the big ones. So let's start there. Falconhorn and Peg Knights unchanged, we sad. Okay, that's fine. I wouldn't necessarily expect those to change in an FAQ. I might expect those ones to change in some sort of points or rules document down the line. I don't know. That's not like a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But if they were going to change it, that's what I'd expect to see. All right. Look, much shorter in Force of Fantasy and Ravening Hordes. Yeah, so let's start there. Let's just start with Sisters of the Thorn, because we know things have happened there. So, what are we looking at? Sisters of the Thorn. Change the Daughters of Eternity special rule to models with this special rule have a 4-up ward save against any wounds suffered. That's good. That's a good change. Basically, prior to this, there was... You could argue that any attached characters got a 4-up ward save. I hadn't played it that way, but I thought that was probably how it worked. And I also didn't like that was how it worked. So glad to see that changed. Doppelganger and Lore Familiar nerfed. I'm not happy about that. I do love me some Lore Familiar. Maybe that changes how things are done. And then the second part is Sisters of the Thorn. Change the first sentence of the Deepwood Coven special rule to: a unit of Sisters of the Thorn knows a single spell, randomly generated by the controlling player before armies are deployed from either battle magic or elementalism. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We don't have triple Pillar of Fire Sisters of the Thorn builds anymore. I've played it. I've done well with it. I think I've got I've won 6 out of the 7 games I've played with it at a tournament, and I don't think I've lost any practice games with it. It's just not okay. It's not particularly fun. I know that people weren't massively abusing it, honestly. There weren't a huge amount of people playing it, but with the Wood Elves models coming back in the next sort of 6 months, it's nice to see that change. So huge fan of that. Edward says, woo, yeah. Me too, buddy. Me too. Big fan of that change. Is there any point in still taking them? The elementalism signature spell is bad. I wonder if... There's no way they get the... I don't think they'd be able to change into it, but I think there's no way that they get the... whatchamacallit rule, is there? The Law of Athel Loren. Let's just have a quick look at their... Let's see here. So if we go down to Wood Elves...
Wood Elves having to actually play the game challenge, impossible.
Hey, thank you, Tanako. Yeah, absolutely. Having to play the game, making it so that people have to engage with you. Sucks to be a Wood Elf player. So, again, as someone who does play Wood Elves, so I'm a huge fan of this change. It makes you want to play a more engaging Wood Elf style, so I'm so genuinely pumped about this, even though it's just like a straight nerf. There's no upside, it just makes the game better, so that is a pretty good upside. Sisters of the Thorn got pruned. I like that, Clint. I do like that. Big fan. Okay. Oh, God. Can you see how hyped I am? I'm genuinely so excited. Yeah, cool. So they don't have the Law of Athel Loren, so the only thing they can go for is they can go for rolling a spell, which is not ideal, or they can go for swapping into it, neither of which is good. So if we go right down to the bottom here, I don't think there's anything that's worth... Like, I wouldn't take Hammerhand for them. Maybe if they hadn't put the other nerf in, where if you... Like, if you could take Hammerhand, but you still gave a fort ward to the character that was attached, maybe that would be worth doing, because at that point you could just go, oh, I'm buying a ward save for my character. They still get to do their full allocation of magic items, and I do a little bit of extra damage. But no, they've made sure that isn't in the game, so huge fan of that. Wish the Wood Elf's nerf had been held off until the Arcane Journal gets released. I can't agree, Nicholas. It's one of the most bullshit things in the game. Like, it's so unfun to play against, and honestly, I don't think they need it. I think... When I was playing the list, I thought that the Pillar of Fire was good, but a lot of the games I didn't even need it. Elementalism signature being absolute ass strikes again. Hell yeah. That is one of the worst spells. Let's have a look at it to remind myself, because it's been so long since I've actually taken it. What are we looking at here? Thank God for this stream. I was in danger of forming my own opinion. You know how it goes. You've been on the internet before. So, we're looking at Elementalism, Stormcall. God, yeah, 12-inch hex. You hate to see it. You might not take them as casters. Yeah, I don't know if they bring enough to take them elsewhere. Like, is there any reason to do that? I'm not sure there is. Okay, cool. I think we've looked that one fully through. Sister the Thorn, maybe not dead. Well, actually, no. I think they're dead. I don't think you take them in a competitive list. I am quite happy to see that change. Questing Knights, change the unit size to 3+. Cool. Still not going to see him. Actually, Bretonnians are before Wood Elves, right? Can you put a Ruby Ring of Ruin on the Questing Knight Sergeant? Is that possible? I've gone too far here. Questing Knights. So Mounted Yeomen, Pegasus Knights, Grail Knights. Here we go, Questing Knights. 25 points on the Questing Knights. You were taking 5, you're now taking 3. So happy, yeah, me too. Is there any reason to ever take these? So they have a single attack. They are a T3 3-up save model for 26 points. That's not too expensive. You've got to take them in special. No. I don't think there is any reason to take them. Not anything I can see there. Want to see you make a Wood Elf list with the changes. Interesting to see how they pivot. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be looking to see what I can do with them. I think I'm a lot more excited to play them now. Orc Boy Phil, you're not excited. Still got a box of Flog. Last one you got £50 for. That's unfortunate for you, buddy. But that's what we call war profiteering over the war crimes that they committed. So I'm not too... Is this accommodating how Questing Knights are sold? Matthew, I think that's a fantastic point. I think it is literally just that they're sold in 3, so take them in 3s. Okay, cool. I don't think there's any competitive reason to take them still, but that's fine. If you want to run them, it's now easy to get them in the list. You can get them in for, 78 points for 3. That's not awful, honestly. It's chaff. Yeah, that's fine. Arcane Journal. The Goblin Hewer, wounds and attacks characteristic to 2, because there's only one member of crew, so now it has 2 wounds. Previously, technically, and I don't think anyone was really playing it this way, but they should have been, if you got into combat with a Goblin Hewer, you know, that war machine that everyone plays, you've seen loads of them on the tabletop, it only had a single wound and attack in combat, so that's been fixed. Feels thematic that you might have a few Questing Knights in the area able to answer the call. I like that. Yeah, that's a good thematic change. And it's a lot easier to justify getting them into the list if you are doing it from a perspective of, I've got 3, 78 points, let's go. It's sometimes hard to fill those last points if you're not taking loads of Pegasus Knights. You're still at the tame stuff. The brackets in Armor Bane question makes me think they read my email. I was very specific about the wording of weapon. I'm looking forward to getting to that one then, Callum. And then we've got the Guardian of Sacred Sites. Change the 3rd sentence of the 2nd paragraph of the rule to, it does not include vortices, open grounds or hills, or any construction such as walls or buildings. Right, this is the Green Knight. The Green Knight can no longer come out of a vortex. It can't come out of a hill, even if your TO decides that that's what they're going to be doing with their time. So that's good. Big fan of that. Yeah, so this is just basically changing it to natural terrain means woods. Green Knight comes out of woods. Don't try any funny business. So I'm a fan of that. Is there anything else on here that this opens up or like hasn't got constructions? No, I think that's just straight up. Yeah, it's one of those where that's how, as Winslow says, that's how people were playing it, but it's not realistically changed other than to neaten it up. This is a good FAQ change as opposed to like a ruling change, in my opinion. Jordan says that's for you, UKTC. I believe after their first event they didn't play it that way, so we'll not shading them at all. They've changed their ways, I believe. Okay, so here we go. In the FAQs, Dwarf and Mountain holds. If the musician and or standard bearer in a unit of slayers are models that have been upgraded to giant slayers, what happens if they are slain? Is there an instrument and or standard picked up by another giant slayer or by a troll slayer? It depends on the units, the models that remain. If any giant slayers remain, they'll pick up the instrument or standard. If no giant slayers remain, a troll slayer will take their place. Note that giant slayers are not unit champions. Therefore, the standard bearer would be the last to be removed. Okay, this is interesting. So the standards always last to die because giant slayers are not unit champions because you can have multiple of them, so that's fine. This is clunky. This is admin. It means that you can't abuse just taking 3 of the better slayers and then having them be the ones that don't die when the front rank is chopped through. But it does mean there's going to be some admin keeping track of who's who. I mean, from a balance perspective, this is good. From an actual gameplay perspective, this feels like a little bit clunky. Was it the end of the world to just have, 2 models at the front that wouldn't die and would remain as the better ones? It probably is too much. Yeah. I don't know. Motley Crue strikes again, I think is basically what that boils down to. Wait, do dwarves have Motley Crue? I don't know if they do, or if they're just oh, that's the wrong one. It's just like a pseudo Motley Crue with Slayers, right? Slayers. Yeah, no, they do have Motley Crue. Oh, thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate it. Huge thanks to Ryan. If you have been gifted a Close Order membership, please do come on down the Discord. Put in the needs role channel. I will apply your role in Discord. You can get access to the VIP sections. Oh, hold on. Goldfire says they make cannons shoot like cannons. I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be fun. And Strifer says this is niche. Yeah, you know what? That is enough time spent on the Slayers. I don't think they actually matter all that much. If a unit bearing the standard inscribed with a Master Rune of Hesitation falls back in good order and is pursued and caught by the enemy unit, does the rune take effect? Yes. Okay, cool. So when the pursuing unit catches the enemy unit that fell back in good order, it counts as having charged that unit. So this is how it was played, I think, by everyone. Hesitation is when you're charged in the front, you take a penalty. And so this is just, yes, the penalty applies because it applies whenever you're charged, and being caught counts as that penalty. So big fan of that. Suggestion from Callum: errata, change Motley Crue to fuck it, do whatever you want. I think that's what the rule says. It takes a lot more words, but that's basically where it is. Edward says, I think this means you can bounce a cannon through the woods. I haven't even got that far, buddy, so we'll have a look at that. Where are you accessing this FAQ? If you go to the Warhammer community website, buddy, and if you go to the top right, there's a downloads button. Click the old world. You'll load into this page here, and there is a helpful, recently updated page, so you can just click these 3. We're currently looking at the Ravening Hordes, and then we'll go through Force of Fantasy. Force of Fantasy first, then Ravening Hordes, and then we'll get to the big one. You are very welcome, James. Arcane Journal Dwarves. Do runes inscribed upon a Doomseeker's Whirling Blades of Death apply to impact hits? Yes, we knew this. So they clarify, yes, as stated under the profile, impact hits caused by a Doomseeker are resolved using the profile of its Whirling Blades of Death, which includes any runes the weapon is inscribed with. This is the level of stats that I enjoy from Games Workshop FAQ. Sometimes they clarify something that wasn't clear and get sassy, and I'm like, maybe don't do that. That's a bit of a dick move. This is, yeah, it says it. Just read the sentence. There's no way to, believe it in any other way. So I quite like that level of sass. Good rules writing there. Good job. Perfect. So dwarves, I've heard that there is another big change that benefits dwarves, but we'll get to that into the later in the general army rulebook. Sociopath went strength weight. God, I haven't talked all day. I've just been sat at home trimming models. So this is me going straight into having to turbocharge my voice. Sociopath went straight to the army book FAQ, not the main one. Yeah, people pointed out it was shorter, so went with this first. I think it makes sense. Winslow says, never even heard that argued otherwise. Yeah, me either, buddy, me either. This is literally just clarifying for the sake of clarifying. I'm sure someone did email this in, so, you know, it's cool that they've put in. I'm not against it. Just nice to see there. T Commander, good to have you here, buddy. Would SDS make fun of you for asking this as a good standard for what rules as written interpretations you use? That I'm not a rules as interpreted guy, because I've been playing this game long enough, or these Warhammer games long enough, to know that the studio's interpretation is sometimes different to the general public. But I like this one. Okay, Giant Slayers, foreshadowing some Slayer change, probably not. I think it's just clarifying how it works, basically. I don't think they're getting any buff, which is a shame, because they probably need one. Empire of Man. Before a steam tank charges, can it use the steam power special rule to increase how far it can move? No. You can use it instead of marching by a model... by a model that cannot march. Hold on. The steam power special rule can be used instead of marching by a model that cannot march. In other words, in instances where most models or units would increase their movement by marching, a steam tank can instead make use of the steam power rule. Charging is not such an instance. Wait, can a steam cannon not march? I know it can't. I just need to read the rule to understand what they're putting here, because that's such a weirdly worded... I should just Control F, but I'm too far in now. Okay, so in under steam power, it says cannot march. Okay, however, the wording here is so used instead of marching by a model that cannot march. I think it's because it's instead of marching, so this is fine. I'm just inventing a problem. But yeah, basically it just means that you don't get to charge and use the additional movement. This is good. This is fine. This is how people were playing it. Good stuff there. Does this... Oh, Landon! Does this mean that steam tanks make regular charge rolls? You've been doing steam power to charge. Yeah, it is. It is just a regular charge. But I believe you do have to still roll the... Oh no, it's the... If you want to charge with the Iron Demon, you have to use the double roll to make sure that you are able to, or something along those lines. Cool. So that's it for Empire. Kingdom of Bretonnia, everyone's favourite winged chaps. Can a character with a Shield of the Lady retire to the rear of the unit after issuing a challenge, enabling them to avoid their opponent's attacks? No. Once a challenge has been issued and accepted, neither combatant can retire until the challenge is resolved. Chivalry demands it. So, Shield of the Lady basically means that your prophetess can bugger off to the back of the unit and not have to get risk being hit in the face, but still gets to do damage. This is a good rule for having a buffing character in there, or whatever you like. However, this is just to avoid any sequencing issues where you might go, oh, but what I want to do is declare a challenge, make it so that my opponent has to accept, then I retire to the back, or like try and sneak in the middle in some sort of like weird MTG sequencing. That's not how the rules work, so no. Good to have that clarified, I guess. Andrew, hi from Lanzarote. I hope you're enjoying your holiday, Andrew. And too much to hope that the Falcon Horn is on this list. People have said that it isn't, but if it was going to get changed, I would expect a points change more than anything else, although I could see a rules change on it. They have literally changed one, or fixed one issues. Interesting. We'll see how that goes. One use only. How are dragons nerfed? There is a change with stomp attacks we'll get to later on in the stream, bud. My army includes a character with Gauntlet of the Duel, and I want them to challenge a specific enemy character. Can my opponent choose a different model to accept the challenge in that character's stead? Yes. Yeah, this is fine. This is just clarifying that you don't get to force one character to accept the challenge. It would be way more than 5 points if that was how the rule worked. So the challenges are issued broadly. If several models could accept a challenge, their controlling player decides which. That makes sense. That is how the rule works, and I guess it's good to have that clarified just to prevent arguments, because I could see that being like a sort of FLGS argument that people could get into. Just read the FAQ. It's the stomp attacks, but we'll get to that later on. So that's it. Oh no, here we go. Is a charging lance blunted if an enemy unit countercharges it? No, as both units are charging. The clause that a lance is blunted is if it is charged and does not countercharge is negated. This is something that needed to be fixed because rules as written it was blunted, which is dumb, but I'm glad to see it fixed. This is how I think everyone was realistically playing it. Just good to have it sorted. Wood elves. No changes for wood elves. Oh, that's fine. They must have avoided all of the changes. Okay. High elf realms. Does the martial prowess special rule allow models to make supporting attacks with weapons that do not have the fight in extra rank special rule? Who's asking these questions? This is an interesting one. Martial prowess grants the ability to make supporting attacks the flank or rear as well as the front. It does not grant the ability to make supporting attacks to models not normally able to do so. Yeah, that's kind of obvious. I'm not really sure who's asking these rules, but sure. I mean, I'm glad that's clarified. I feel sorry for SDS because obviously there are a lot of rules that we've wanted them to answer for a long time, but sometimes you get stuff like this, you're like, that doesn't need to be answered, but I guess someone's asked it, so it goes in the FAQ. Sometimes you have to wonder what sort of literalist rules Goblin sent the emails. Yeah, SDS is Specialist Design Studio. Are high elves still allowed? Yes, Callum, high elves are still allowed. And changes to Swift Stride have some impact. I haven't seen that, so I'm looking forward to having a look at that one. All right, that is it for the Forces of Fantasy. Let's go over to the Ravening Hordes. Sisters nerfs at the start of the document. Yeah, it is. We've been through that one. I'm jazzed. So, for Ravening Hordes, first of all, errata. Edbert Nat, changed to 0 to 1 per model. That's a little bit of a shame, because they did previously FAQ it to say, yeah, you can do it, but you just have to model all of your hats, which was fun, and I really liked the thought of it. And it wasn't good enough to be worth doing, I think. Like, there was maybe a niche case where you could be like, oh, I'm going to do it, and I think it works. But, yeah, they've stopped that. This is fine. This is like a common sense change, but it is a little bit sad because I enjoyed the silliness that you could have before without it being too strong, I think. Lovely stuff. Okay, so anything else in here? There is... Oh, yeah, here we go. Skin Wolves. Change the base size from 40 mil to 50 mil. This is... so they came with 50 mils in with the models, but the 40 mil is what comes in the book. So this has just now been standardized to what they were meant to be on originally. I think this was just a misprint in the book. And then also change Skin Wolf Jarl to Skin Wolf Jarl, open brackets, champion, close brackets. So this is just a formatting change, basically what they had before. And then add fear to the Skin Wolf list of special rules. This is a good change. This is a great change. This is something that they should have had already. Like, if you look at a lot of monstrous infantry, so like if I just go... let's have a look here. Treekin. Oh, it would help if I could spell. Is that 2 words? Treekin. Yeah, here we go. So Treekin, you can see Treekin cause fear, although maybe all forest spirits do, so maybe that's just not a great... Yeah, Dryads cause fear as well. Is there anything else in here? Monstrous infantry. I think I may have... Yeah, okay, I've picked the wrong book to look through. It's fine. Basically, monstrous infantry typically have fear, so not having it on there is a little bit of a weird one. Now I have this weird goblin with 3 hats, says Ryan. Yeah, that's a shame, because there was some fun modelling potential. No changes to TMP. That's interesting. That's interesting. Stomp attacks don't work against units defending a low linear obstacle. Nice change. Can't see it coming up often. Well, there's a spell, Artisan, that gives you being defended by a low linear obstacle, so we'll get to that. Does this stop them being joined by a mounted character? The character would just glob onto the side. It depends on the side of the base. But yes. I mean, I think with what they had anyway, they were just globbing onto the side, because the demonic mount is either... It's like between 40 by 60 or 50 by 75, so you just go up to a slightly bigger base and then you can fit in comfortably, but you still have to be on the side either way around. Is the armor value of a ward say... Oh, okay. Brian found the peak Facebook answer. And then Warpfire Dragon, add closer order to the Warpfire Dragon's list of special rules. That's interesting. I'm not sure I was aware that it wasn't on there. So, glad to see that change come in. I know that's a buff to dragons, and we want dragons to be nerfed, but I don't think the Warpfire Dragon is particularly egregious, so I'm pretty okay with that one being fixed. Matthew says these changes are overall quite pro-troll. I'm in favour of that. I'm a big troll fan. Next, you'll be telling me that flaming attacks have been removed from the game. On to the FAQs. Let's have a look here. Orcs and Goblin tribes. How are victory points scored for a Night Goblin unit that includes one or more fanatics once its fanatics have been released? They're an upgrade for the unit. The cost is included when working out victory points for the unit itself. In other words, the death of an individual fanatic is not worth any victory points, but destroying the unit it was concealed within will earn you victory points for the fanatic as part of the unit's cost. This is how most events that I've played at with fanatics have ruled it. I think the TSN rules pack did change it, the square base rule pack. And honestly, I can't remember what they changed it to, but it's nice just to have this clarified. Honestly, it feels like a bit of a buff, but I guess Night Goblins and Fanatics are not the terror that they were at the start of the edition, so I'm not overly upset about that. It's just nice to have it standardized and written out. Did Chosen get a second wound yet? That's not the sort of change that will get made in an FAQ or an errata. Won't someone think of the trolls? Yes. Yes, we will think of the trolls. If I own... here's one that I like. If I upgrade a unit of boar boys to have the big and special rule, do their war boars benefit as well? Yes. Rules as written, this is the same as it was. People thought that it might not be because a lot of upgrades don't affect mounts, but this one didn't have that says this doesn't affect mounts. It makes sense to me thematically because the big orcs ride big boars, so I can just see that one working thematically. I'm in favour of this. It does get them up to a fairly ludicrous strength 6 when you have them combined with oh god, what's the banner that gives them the plus strength? Angry Flag, something like that. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of my strength 6 boars and my strength 6 boar boys. Jordan says we've had one FAQ, yes, but what about balance change? Give it a month or two. We'll see if we've got something coming down the line. So does Banner of Butchery affect boards? Yes. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. That always did. Banners do affect your mounts, unless it specifically says that it doesn't. Strifer says, I like big boars. I like big boars, and I cannot lie. In fact, what I've been doing today is I have been literally building more boar boys. So that could not come at a better time. Really nice to have that one clarified. All these answers seem a lot more rules as written than before when they were happy to make changes. I'm okay with that. Just have it clarified one way or the other. I haven't come up against anything that feels particularly wrong or egregious, so this feels okay. What else have we got? Anything down there? Can the glowy green amulet be used by a character that isn't a wizard? Yes, the glowy green amulet is a talisman, meaning if any character that can take magic items can use it. However, God, I can't do words. If they wish to use it against an enemy spell, they do so instead of a wizardly dispel attempt being made. This means that you cannot also attempt a wizardly dispel against a spell you use the amulet against, even if it explodes. Yeah, so this is just clarifying, because obviously you can't actually dispel with a non-wizard. So let me just have a look at the wording on this one. Glowy green amulet. I have a feeling that it might be in the other book, but we'll just have a look here. All the way to the bottom. Again, I really should have Control F this, but we're committed now. Oh, here we go. They may use this instead of making a wizardly dispel attempt. Okay, so this is just clarifying the language. I don't mind that. It's not... I don't think it was really written in a way that made me believe that you couldn't use this unless you were also a wizard, especially because it's a talisman, but I'm very okay with that being clarified. Feels interesting. Caskets as totes allowed to move and reserve move now. Interesting. Hey, Creekhammer, how you doing? Good to have you, buddy. These questions were frequently asked every day. Chat's having a field day about how bad some of these questions are, and I'm here for it. I'm a big fan. You tell him. Get him telled. Brian, am I mad about lore familiar clarification? Okay, interesting. I'll have to get to that one, because I think I'm going to be upset about that one. Upset is the wrong word. A bit bummed. So in the Arcane Journal, yeah, here we go. Can the size of ranged self spells be increased by Idol of Gork? No, it's always ranged self, not its range. Yeah, that makes sense. Adding 3-inch to your range is clarified on most items that increase the range. I guess they just forgot it off the wording of Idol of Gork, so that's fine. Oh, thank you, John, for reminding me. Let's hit the like button, chaps. 164 watching, only 24 likes. Appreciate you. Yes, all of the YouTube good stuff, the more people that hit the like and comment and all of those good things, it will get seen by more people, so I do appreciate that. Radius is not range. Yes, that is correct. I'll definitely be bothered. And then it's my name at the end. Okay, yeah, no good. I'm desensitized to them now. 3 years of reading 6 monthly Blood Bowl FAQs does that to a man. 420 likes are a heat my hat. If you lot can get to 420 likes with only about 160 people watching, I'll be very impressed. I'll eat a hat if you can get to 420 likes. And I like my hat, my very cheap Poundland beanie that keeps me warm when it's pissing freezing outside. Moving on. Warriors of Chaos. Arcane Journal Warriors of Chaos. What happens if I wish to accept a challenge to fight a Warriors duel, but I do not have any single wound champions in my army? Roll off to determine who takes the first turn as normal. This is good. I don't know if it was clear or clarified before, but I remember at first look when people were talking about it. If you were playing an army like Ogres, where you literally didn't have any one wound champions unless you were taking like a Nobbler champion for some reason, you just auto went second because you couldn't accept the challenge. So there is an interesting decision where you can just be like, oh, okay, so if I want to beat the Wolves of the Sea detachment and I don't want them to go first, maybe I just don't take unit champions, which I wasn't doing anyway a lot of the time. So this plays into the way I like to build my list, so I'm not upset about that. And then when fighting a Warriors duel challenge between 2 unit champions, are such things as magic standards carried by their units counted? No, it's fought by the 2 champions alone without any support from their units. Interesting. I think I would have assumed that you do still have those standards. This makes sense, though. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. You're going to tell them that you have the latest FAQ and hand them the 6th edition rulebook. I feel like you're in the wrong place, bud, if you want to play 6th edition. This is very much we're here to have a good time playing Old World. Ogre champions are like that. Yeah, absolutely. Too busy picking their teeth to accept. Using the Marauders' bones as toothpicks, something along those lines. Beastman Brayherds. Does a unit with Blood Greed always roll a single d6 when making a pursuit roll, or only when frenzied? Only when frenzied. Yep, that's fine. That is how it's written. It's just, having it clarified. That's okay. Joel says, would be interesting how Grail Knights would interact since their standard bearer could accept challenges. Oh, that's interesting. Let's see. Let's have a look at the wording on that again. Yeah, interesting. I think because the way that it's worded, without any support from their units, I'd say common sense. If my opponent had a Magic Standard Grail Knight that accepted the challenge, I'd be very okay with them getting the buff. I don't know if that's clarified at all. Do I have the... Yeah. Let's just have a look at the wording, because I don't know if Grail Knights are able to accept, because it might say unit champions specifically. But then Grail Knights do say... let's have a look here. So... both players choose a single unit champion with a wound. I don't know if a Grail Knight standard bearer would be able to accept, honestly. I don't think they would be able to, just on the basis of it specifically calls out champions. I know you can accept challenges as champions, but this isn't technically a challenge. Or it is a challenge. I don't know. Maybe I'm making more of this than it needs to be. People don't even play Grail Knight, so it's not a problem. But, yeah. Blood Knights could do it as well, actually. We'll see. You're off to a runner RPG. Enjoy Orc Boy Phil. The stream will be around for you to catch up on, I'm sure. Lions were untouched this round. Legends were untouched this round. Yeah, that's not surprising. You guys are terrible at reading FAQs. You've come up with at least 10 more annoying questions. As in chat has, or me? Hammers. Yes, lots of units that are able to challenge without being the unit champion. Alright, so yeah, this one's fine. This is literally just saying that you only roll a single d6 when frenzied. I think that's clear in the text, but I guess there's no harm in putting it in. And Tomb Kings. Can a Casket of Souls move at the end of the shooting phase using the reserve move special rule? Yes. Why have they FAQ'd this? Like, I feel like you either leave it in, or you get rid of it, and you stop it from happening, and you say, no, it's obviously meant to be immobile. I don't know why you clarify it in the stupid way. That feels wrong to me. Rules as written, yes, it can work. So this is like clarifying the rules as written, yes. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's not how I thought they'd answer it either. Weird. Alright, cool. Well, that's the end of that one. Let's move on. So let's move on to now. We've got the FAQ and errata for the main rulebook. This is version 1.3. Skeletons be movie having things, but only, I guess it's because they can only move it slowly, and the reason they can only move it slowly is because they have to drag it. So it's so slow that they can't move it in the move phase. They have to move it in the shooting phase. Interesting. Not a big fan of that change, but it's fine. Whatever. It's just clarifying rules as written. So errata for the main rulebook. What have we got here? First of all, crunch. So this is the cannon rule. If the path of the cannonball meets a hill, impassable terrain, or high linear obstacle, it stops immediately. No further models are hit. Okay, so what that means is, let's go to page 227. Oh, it's not this one. Here we go. So as it was, you could kind of curve a cannonball over a building, which upsets me greatly. But they've finished that, so they've changed that. So 227 crunch. If the cannonball hits it, it stops immediately. No further models are hit. And then how is this worded? If the path of the cannonball meets a hill. So it's not if it hits. Yeah, so you can't now guess in front of a building, roll so that the first roll increases the distance traveled. So you can't have it go over the top of a building and then bounce and hit something else. You can bounce a cannon through a forest. I don't think woods are high linear obstacles. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so like thematically, and we can close that one down. Thematically, that kind of makes sense to me, that a cannonball can make its way through trees because it's a big chunk of steel. Is it going to get stopped by a tree, like the one tree that it hits? For game balance reasons, I think I'd prefer it didn't go through trees, but it also doesn't feel like the end of the world to me. So, alright. We'll, yeah, that's fine. The amount of times I've seen a cannonball bounce over a 2-story building in real life. Cannon... Walls are high linear obstacles, and in combat, anything above 2 inches. You can't shoot an actual cannon through an actual wood. I guess it depends how thick the wood is, right? Roll a d6 on a 2+, it hits a tree. Can shoot through wood chips, why not trees? I think that it's not shooting through wood chips, it's shooting the wood chip, and the damage is done when it hits the first bit of wood. Yeah, I don't have a firm stance on this, I'll say. I'd be okay with it going away. So that's... Can it hit the top of a hill and bounce down? No, it can't. So if the line is drawn and it hits a hill at all, like if the line goes over a hill, it just stops. It doesn't work at all. So that's good, I think. Hills stopping it, I guess, makes sense because you're not curving it over anything. I think in 6th, a cannon would stop after 3 inches of a forest. That makes sense, but also it's like, again, a little bit of, is this needless admin? So that's that. Okay, so next up we have got the Berserker Blade. Change the weapon profile to strength +1, no AP, extra attacks +1, impetuous magical attacks, and also the wielder of the Berserker Blade is impetuous. Is that standard wording for impetuous? I don't think there's any magic weapons that give you impetuous. So this just changed it from giving you frenzy to giving you impetuous. That is worse, I think, because they took out the thing that stopped it from... There was an interaction where if Minotaurs are frenzied, it gives its unit +2 attacks or something along those lines. It's been a while since I've read the actual Beastman book. But this means that you don't get to do that. I think that was an unintended interaction, because in the first FAQ, they took that interaction out. Then they FAQ'd again, removed the bit that stopped you from doing the Frenzy Minotaur interaction. And now they've just changed the weapon. Yeah, maybe there's a reason for that in the upcoming Arcane Journal. Yeah, I mean, this is just a bad weapon. For 20 points, +1 attacks, and you have a downside. I'm not excited about it. If you really want to stack attacks for some reason on, like, a cheap character that has AP from another source, you could go for this and then also go for Frenzy. So, on that Minotaur we talked about, you could theoretically get up to, what, like 8 attacks? Or maybe 9? Something along those lines. So glad Beastman finally got a nerf. So technically, yes, they got nerfed. Is it a nerf in, like, real world? No. Nobody was using this interaction. So that's fine. That is fine. Cannons can shoot through woods. Oof. Bummer. Okay, so if we go back to the... So that's everything under the errata. Sure. What is there in the FAQ? So, general principles. Here's where we're starting. If a specific natural roll triggers an effect, is that effect still triggered if the dice is re-rolled and the re-roll gives a different result? No. If you re-roll a die, the previous roll is discarded. This includes any effects that the roll may have triggered. Obviously. That's, yeah. I mean, again, this is one of those, like, I have a PhD in trying to find very small niche rules interactions that no one would ever reasonably play, but you know, maybe it'll win me a game and lose me all my friends. Sure. If they're putting it in, they're putting it in for a reason. I just think that whoever asked this needs to have a word with themselves. Or maybe they're just clarifying because they had to deal with that guy. So whoever was trying to pull this in a game needs to have a word with themselves, I should say. Why are they so determined to prevent a bad unit getting Frenzy? I don't know. Maybe it's just like a balance change and they're like, oh, Frenzy is too much of a downside, or we'd like to stack it with Frenzy. Not clear on the hill cannonball. Can you give the explanation? Basically, if the line that you shoot the cannonball along crosses a hill at all, it stops. You can't... What you used to be able to do is pick a point before a hill or a building, roll the first artillery die. The first artillery die increases the distance that the cannonball travels before it bounces. So if you rolled like a 6 or an 8 and you got to the other side of the hill or the building, previously the way it worked was that you would shoot over the top of the hill, even though you couldn't see what was on the other side. Now, if you draw a line over the hill or a building or a wall or anything like that, it just stops dead no matter how you roll. You can't game the system in that way. Everyone needs to model their casters as souls with small sets of chair casters now. Or like just people like hefting it. Have it on the backs of skeletons because it can move, so it needs to be represented as being able to move. You can still shoot over a hill, but it can't bounce over. I don't believe that's true, James. If we go back to... yeah, so if the path of the cannonball meets a hill. So it's just now if it crosses the hill at all, it stops. Things behind a hill are not immune. They are now. They weren't before, but they are now. Alright, what else have we got on this page? Onto magic. Casting the same enchantment or hex spell on a unit more than once has no further effect, but what about spells with a range of self that affect all units within a certain distance of the caster? Unless stated otherwise, such spells are not cumulative, and casting them multiple times will have no further effect. Yes, this is because the way that the wording was written on those on the enchantments and hexes is that if you cast it on a unit multiple times, it doesn't have an effect, but if you had multiple casters with the same aura spell that was range self but with like an AoE around it, it would stack. So you could do, the big one is the Chaos Dwarf spell, whose name I've completely forgotten, Cloud of Ash, which gives you -1 to be hit, so you could run multiple Cloud of Ash casters, and this stops that from working. Not many people were doing that because it feels a bit gamey, so this just clarifies things. What people are saying is if the unit is on the hill, it still crosses the hill and therefore stops. Yeah, so you can't even shoot anything on a hill, I believe. That's interesting. Right, I'm going to move on from the cannons in a second, but one last, just so we can get through the stream. But if the path of the cannonball meets a hill, it stops immediately, which means that no matter how you try and do it, it's just if you get in front of it and you roll your artillery dice and it bounces over, the path of the cannonball has crossed the hill, or if it lands on the hill, or any of these things, it stops the second it hits the hill. So if your model is at the very front part of a hill, you can be hit, like, because it lands on it, I guess. But if you're back from the hill at all, the cannonball stops the second it hits the hill. Invisible force fields on hill. Yeah, basically that's it. Ooh. Does that mean as well that... Hold on, let's go back to Crunch. Let me just have a quick look at Crunch. It was a 228 in the PDF. Wait, no, hold on. Sometimes a bouncing cannonball will encounter something that stops it dead. Oh, so maybe this is only after the bounce. Yeah, no, I think actually I might be wrong. If you're on the hill, you can only be hit by the strike point, but the initial... Yeah, so... Yes. So... I think actually I'm wrong with this, and I've missed the fact that it says here in the first bit. Sometimes a bouncing cannonball will encounter something that stops it dead. So this means that these rules are only for the bounce, so the initial guess can still go further? Can't bounce up a hill. Right, you know what? We're going to move on, because I think this could be a 20-minute argue about cannonball stream. But needs more thought. We'll have it cracked in the next 2 hours, I'm sure. So moving on to movement in the core errata. If a unit will have to wheel before or during a charge, do I have to allow for that when declaring and measuring the charge? Yes. Wheeling and during a charge is part of the charge move. The free wheel to align once contact made is free. Interesting. So this means... So it's when declaring and measuring the charge. So the thing that's interesting about this is because this is not how I was playing charges, and I think most people weren't. When you're measuring the charge... you have to... It looks like you can't now declare a charge. That is impossible. Which obviously you wouldn't want to do, but for the sake of frenzy, if a wheel would cause the frenzied unit to be, let's say, it's a 12-inch move with a wheel, because you've got a wheel 4 inches and move 8. Even though you're within the 10-inch move, like the charge declarable range, I believe this means now that a frenzied unit does not have to declare a charge if it is an impossible charge because of the wheel. So... I think that is what this change actually clarifies. We need more ball talk later. Or let's have a dedicated cannibal show next week. If people are still frothing for it, maybe we go back to it at the end of the stream. But for now, we're going to move on to the other bits and pieces. Is there anything else for shooting? Nothing for shooting. Combat. Models that are in base contact with different enemy units can choose which to attack. When the decision is made at the start of combat or when the model's turn to fight comes. Okay, sure. So this is just saying you resolve attacks at initiative step and you resolve them fully at initiative step. So you don't have to start the combat and say, okay, so we've got 6 different initiative steps. I'm going to put initiative step 1 here, initiative step 2 here, initiative step 3 here, which makes sense because you can't get the attacks returning back. So you could have lost attacks in a weird way. So all this is doing is clarifying that when you determine where your attacks go, you do it in the way that makes sense. Start off with your strikes first. Then your initiative 9, elf lord on dragon with a great weapon. He's going to go next. Then you've got your, initiative 6 or 7 dragon, whatever it pans out to be. So yeah, this is good. This makes sense. I don't know that it needed clarifying, but it's good to have in there. Link to FAQ. Go to Warhammer Community, Bruce Robertson. And then in the top right, you'll see a downloads section. Click the Warhammer Old World, and then they're under the recently updated. My enemy unit charges an enemy unit that is defending a low linear obstacle, making base contact with the obstacle rather than the unit. Can my unit make impact hits or stomp attacks? No. Models must be in base contact with the enemy to make impacts or stomp attacks. So this means that dragons can't stomp you if you are behind a low linear obstacle. Although this does clarify that making base contact with the obstacle rather than the unit. So I guess if we go to the Elementalism spell, which is on page like 340. No, it's a little bit before that. Because it doesn't actually change the base to base. That might not be as good as I thought it was initially. Because initially I thought it was just if you're behind a low linear obstacle. Because I haven't actually read this one myself. So, when it charges an enemy unit that is defending the obstacle, making base contact with the obstacle rather than the unit. Okay, so this doesn't actually nerf... This doesn't really nerf stomp attacks in the way that I thought it did. That's unfortunate. Can make the impact hits or stomp attacks. Right, I think... Yeah, unfortunately, the thing that people have been saying, earthen ramparts, which counts as behind low linear obstacle, doesn't actually stop stomp attacks, which is a shame, because that'd be a huge buff that you could put on a unit. Yeah, Edward Moore's, I think the something means you were behind a physical object, yeah, as opposed to what we expected it to be. Yeah, that is a bummer. That is a bummer. Which is like 0. Yeah, there's not many. Maybe we'll see people put them on maps, but then it's a bit of a tactical issue to put a unit behind a barrier. It's hard to move around. How are dragons nerfed? It's the stomps. It's this passage that we're literally looking at, but I didn't realise that it was only if you're in base-to-base contact, so it's not actually... It is technically a nerf, but it hasn't actually made much of a difference, has it? That's a bummer. The Swift Stride changes a bit of a nerf for dragons. That's good, because I wouldn't want to have misrepresented things. We'll get to that one, I guess, down the line. Is overkill counted by or against a champion in a challenge, or does it only count for characters? Yes. Again, this probably did need clarifying, because there was some weird, like, oh, but overkill only says for characters, even though a champion is acting as a character in a challenge. So, yeah, I'm glad this has been clarified, just because there's going to be one person who challenges out your dragon and goes, well, rules as written, you only actually get 1 wound, you don't get any overkill, and then you have to go and argue with get the TO, which is just more hassle than it's worth, so I'm glad that's been in there. If a model has Armorbane X listed among its special rules, does it apply to impact hits or stomp attacks? Oh. Okay, so previously I've been playing it as if Armorbane doesn't do that, because it only buffs weapons, and these are not weapons, I think, is how that's worded. Let's have a look at Armorbane, because I think that's how that was worded. Armorbane, oh god, there's so many different rules. Here we go. Let's just go Armorbane, or am I making that up? Oh no, I was using that properly. I'm getting that confused with something else. I'm not entirely sure what I was thinking of. So yeah, it's just if you roll a 6 to wound, you get an additional AP. Obviously, that stacks with stomp attacks. That's not a change to how things were previously. This wording came up in a game versus Empires, the champion a character. Yeah, it's one of those sort of like unnecessarily convoluted rules, the previous one. Does that overkill rule imply that champions are not characters, so Grail Knights can't blow the horn and Exa? Oh, I'm not even going to get into that one. That seems more complicated than I'm gonna have to deal with right now. Tomb King Chariot stonks up. What has Armorbane and stomps? Impact hits, just corn spawn. Yeah, I can't think of many things. I'm sure there is something, but I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. Ogres. Ogres get impact hits, and bulls have Armorbane on their profile, I think. This is only Armorbane inherent to the model, presumably. Yes, exactly that. Ian says, I think Earthen does count as, so intent 100% should prevent stomps or impact. I don't agree. On the basis of it literally says you have to be in base-to-base with the obstacle. If it didn't say you had to be, it's because you can't make base-to-base contact, so let's just go back to that one. So it says making base contact with the obstacle rather than the unit. You're still making base contact with the unit, so Earthen Ramparts doesn't apply, which is unfortunate. Shaggoth. Oh, yeah, cool. Dragon Ogres, Mangler Squigs. Good stuff all. Petunia, the Earthen Rampart. So basically, I was thinking that stomps would be stopped by Earthen Ramparts, and I was wrong on that, so I need to tweak the title, but I will get to that in a second. Dragon Ogre stomps, yeah. Apparently Swift Stride has nerfed them as well, so we'll get to that. In fact, let me just edit this, because I don't want to misrepresent things. It's the danger with going with what people have told you as opposed to reading it yourself. But My reading of Earthen Ramparts makes me more confused because the rule for defending a low linear obstacle says that the charging unit doesn't make base contact. Oh. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it is a nothing burger. I think it's a good set of clarity changes, and I would expect balance changes to come with the with a potential General's Handbook that might be coming in the next month or two. Just to manage expectations for the Swift Stride thing, it's not that big. Oh, okay, that's fine. Cool. Well, let's go back to where we were at. If a unit is charged by 2 or more enemy units, countercharge... hold on. If a unit charged by 2 or more enemy units countercharges one of them, it may end its movement presenting a different arc to the other unit. Do you resolve charges into those arcs? Yes. Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. So basically, as you move forwards, you might expose your flank, which means that you can't really charge out of your opponent being able to make a charge into you, which makes sense. That's fine. Yeah, the Sisters change is huge. Yeah, it is. Are Brett peasant stakes counted as low linear obstacles? I believe so, John. I think they're low linear obstacles. I think they're like specifically in the thing written as it, but it's been a little while since I've looked at them. If a unit whose troop type is infantry that has been joined by a character whose troop type is cavalry charges an enemy unit with countercharge, can the unit countercharge? No. A unit's troop type doesn't change when joined by a character. Okay, so that's good to have clarified. Although I think that is a buff to Tomb King Chariots with the way that the healing works. Interesting. Yeah. I think this opens up just the chariots getting healed as if they're infantry, but I'm going to leave that to someone else more mired in the very nitty-gritty of the rules to work out, because that seems unnecessary for me to get into, honestly. How far does a model with random movement special move when making a countercharge? That's funny. So it just countercharges the normal D3+1. It doesn't move the full 3d6 or something like that. That would be ridiculous. Callum says, you think that Earthen Ramparts doesn't stop stomps, but you wouldn't disagree with any TO ruling it otherwise. I think it's a wording issue, and I'm arguing intent. You'll play it as written, but I might email. Ian, I think that's a fantastic approach. I think that's really good. I'd be super pro having it changed so that dragons have some units that they just can't straight up charge and, just win every time. I think that'd be a great change, so I'd love to see it. Even though it isn't rules as written, I agree that maybe the intent is there and it would be nice to see as a difference. And lets them use infantry-only banners. Goldfire, so I assume you're referring to this here. This wouldn't allow a unit to get put... Do you mean like as a BSB, have an infantry-only banner? Are there any infantry-only banners? I can't think of any off the top of my head. Chat, are there any banners that are infantry only? Jordan says, perhaps the intention is that we bring our own little earthen ramps for units to go on from the spell that stops basing. If we want to get real cute with it, we could be like, oh, but my models are on a movement tray, and it's got a little rim around the edge, so you're never actually making base-to-base contact with me. Or, technically, you're not making base-to-base contact ever, even if the models are next to each other, because the space of particles between the models. I'm not suggesting that you do this. That's just, if you wanted to make a facetious argument to wind up your friends, and then go on and play the game properly afterwards. Otherwise, Earthen Shield is a pretty shitty Oaken Shield. Yeah, it is, but you can cast it on a unit you're not in, which is a big quality of life upgrade. Does this really affect multiple attacks? Matthew, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Ryan says I'm going to clip Ed saying that. I'm assuming you're referring to me telling you that you can never be in base to base because you've got molecules between bases. That's fair. I said it on the internet. I can't stop you. Doesn't do much other than give a 5++. You can charge with Oaken Shield too. Yeah. All right. I'm going to move on from the Earthen Shield ones. I think we've done that one a little bit to death. Okay, so what else have we got here? So next up we have got War Beasts and Swarms, fear models with the flaming attack special rule. Do War Beasts and Swarms that have the immune to psychology special rule fear models that have the flaming attack special rule? Yes. What? So even if you're immune to psychology, you still have fear. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's not an FAQ. That's an errata. Why is that down here? Or do they still fear them, but they are immune to fear, so they never have to make the fear check? Right, this is some bullshit. Let's have a look. What the fuck is this? So let's just go fear. So model with a special rule causes fear. So you've got all those. So it's literally just the tests that matter for fear. And then if we go immune to psychology, let's have a look. It auto passes any fear, panic, or terror, and it can't flee. So I guess technically you still fear them, but you are immune to fear, so it doesn't matter. I don't know why this would matter. You need to look at the swarm rules. Thank you, I will look at the swarm rules. Let's see what we've got here. Swarm. Oh, okay. Swarm isn't in the glossary. You love to see it. Let's have a look here. So swarms. That's flaming attacks. Swarms. Gustav, it's on the Warhammer community site. Let's have a look here. So, insignificant, no one cares, and disciplined. What am I looking for in the... Matthew, you said, I need to look at the swarm rules. What am I looking for? Units with flaming attacks don't need to test. Weird interaction of wording. It's under flaming. Okay, so we're going to flaming. We're doing the runaround. This is the, like, despite me playing this game loads, I'm still having issues finding the specific rules in the book. This is some good copy editing. So, causes fear. In additional model, flaming attacks are embiggened. Warhammer the referencing game. It's always the fourth place you check. Yeah. Units with flaming attacks don't need to test. Oh, okay. I understand. So, if a unit that has fear, that is also, immune to psychology, it basically means that if you have a flaming attack, you don't have to take a test to charge a unit that causes fear. Okay. This is fine. This makes sense. So it basically just means that you're not scared of the thing that you're going to cause fear in, even if that unit is immune to psychology because it's undead. I'm with you now. Apologies. That was a unnecessarily complex rule. Gustav, it's literally on Warhammer Community. Just go to Warhammer Community, click the downloads button. It's there, bud. I need you to stop spamming. I'm going to time you out if you keep spamming. What a useless clarification. They could have explained it. That was one that was not super clear. It does need to be thought through. But thankfully, I've got all of you guys in chat to help clear that one up for me. So appreciate that. Okay, so anything else here? We've got... what happens if a unit with a move through cover special rule is joined by a character without it? They move at the speed of the slowest model. Therefore, while the unit would suffer no penalty, the character would, potentially reducing how far the entire unit can move. So this only really matters for skirmishes. Well, so it matters in general, because if you've got a unit that's ranked up and they have move through cover and the character doesn't, the character does slow the unit down. But I think the way this works is that the even skirmishing, you'd still lose movement there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's just clarified. It means so if you've got characters attached to Glade Guard, although that's vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, this is good to have clarified. I don't think it matters all that much. It's just nice to know the exact interaction. Then we've got, God damn it. It's the armor value of a regeneration save improved by a shield, barding, or magical item that improves armor. No. Obviously. We've been through this. Maybe previously it just said ward save. Now they've got one that says regeneration as well. I don't know that it needed to be there. Maybe they just add it's magic armor and ward saves, but that's fine. It is what it is. Okie dokie. So, can a model make a regeneration save when it loses a wound? For example, this is good. So if a model loses a wound due to being unstable, can I attempt to make a save? So this is something that it wasn't clear. I'd always played it that if you lost a wound, you don't get to take any saves. This is just nice that it says, no, you can't take any saves at all. So if a rule states that wounds are lost, the affected model has suffered one or more unsaved wounds as described on page 102, meaning one or more wounds are lost from its profile. This is something that I could have seen them writing a little bit more sassily. Like, I'm not saying that I want them to write it more sassily, but I'm a little surprised that they didn't go, no. I actually don't think it was clear, so I'm glad that that was clarified, even though I wasn't playing it that way. Right, okay, so... There we go. Are units that are deployed using the scout special rule counted when determining which player finishes deploying their army first? Yes. Oh no, this is my whole play style. This is my have 4 drops, have the rest of your army be scouts and still get the +1 to go first being changed. Is this a good change for the game? Yes. Am I sad about it? Not really. Should it have been changed? Yeah. This is good. It makes the way that I play less strong, but the way that I play is not necessarily... And to be clear, this is talking about like tournament play, so I think you should always bring the best list you can to tournament play. This makes that list playstyle less good, and I think it's better for the game that it's less good. So I'm okay with this, even though it is specifically... They could have just put down here specifically "fuck you, Ed," which again I'm super okay with. Ed nerfed. Yeah, Ed nerfed. Empire Archers in disarray. That's true, actually. Empire Archers were really good, but now you probably don't take them because you... Or you might still take them, but you might not take them as a scouting unit. The sort of list you're playing them in are probably gunline lists, where you really want that +1 to go first. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we don't see that. Scout nerf is indirect ambush buff. Goldfire, that is true. I might have to reconsider how I feel about ambush. I'm not going to, but I might need to. It feels a bit weird, but I can also see why they've disallowed using scouts to have like 2 drops in your list. Yeah, so I was routinely playing like 4 drop lists, which is probably not correct. And it's, again, I'm just gonna keep saying it. Good that it got fixed. I'm very okay with that. Brian's still trying to get me to 420 likes if everyone hits the like button. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you. Lambo says frig me. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I really wish they would have done something about weaving skirmishes for free cover. Do you mean as in 2 units of skirmishers, Trey? Because, so I think you mean weaving 2 units. So I'm just going to address, if you're talking about having, like, giving your own unit cover, that's already been fixed. Yes, yeah, you just clarified. No, T-Demand, he's talking about having 2 different units providing cover. So if you have units interlinked like this, and models are blocking line of sight to other models, they do provide cover to each other, which is, I don't know how they'd fix that, honestly. It is quite strong. It's not many units, I think, that can abuse it. I think it's hard to make the most of it outside of Pegasus Knights, which are like, if you want to be a melee unit ideally, and you want to have fly, and you want to have good movement, and that ticks all of those boxes to make it. Yeah, chessboard formation. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, is the thing. Skirmishers don't give cover is my fix. That, Trey, is a great fix. Email it in, because I think that's a fantastic fix. I'd love to see that in the game. Can we call that the Blade Runner formation, units interlinked? There we go. Popular movie reference. When do you declare that you're using Swift Stride? Before making a charge, flee, or pursuit roll. Okay, so that is actually a nerf. So, before making a charge, flee, or pursuit roll. So, you have to declare that you're using it, which means that if you roll poorly... this is kind of a niche nerf. It's not like a big thing, but having the flexibility to know your role beforehand was nice to have. Again, I think because like charging and fleeing, it's all like momentum based. It logically makes sense that it should be this way. So again, I'm okay with it being like this. I'm probably just going to start rolling 3 dice where one of the dice is a different color and just be like red Swift Stride, jobs are good, and that'll speed the game up as well. Not that the game particularly needs speeding up. Counts as does not mean the same as. They get the -1 to be hit against shooting. Yeah, that's true, Trey. They already do get like a -1 to be hit, as long as your unit's strength 1. So Pegasus Knights don't get -1 to be shot, but honestly, fuck them. They don't need to be given -1s to be shot. It increases your charge range, so before then... what have I missed? Only infantry, give them through. This one is potentially big. Yeah, I like it. I think this is good. It means that you've got less flexibility to make decisions, which is probably good because the units that have Swift Stride already are too strong. So tapering them back a couple of percent is not a huge nerf, but I like it. We've got, if a character without the Vanguard special rule mate joins a unit with it during deployment, can the character make a Vanguard move with the unit? No. What's more, if the unit is formed, it will not be able to make a Vanguard move. The presence of the character without the Vanguard special rule prevents it. However, if the unit is skirmish formation, it can make the move as normal, leaving the character behind. What does blue mean? Is blue... Let me just go back up. Does it... Okay, so this is just tweaking the wording. So basically, I think before it said you could move and leave it behind, but now it just means that you can do that if it's skirmish. I don't think you could do that before. Is it impacting the fail charge with the Swift Stride? Swift Stride too good. What? Blues are 1-to-1 changes. Where's my travel mystical pathways change? Yeah, I'm interested that there's no TMP nerf. I was expecting there to be a nerf to TMP, and I'm a little bummed that there isn't, honestly. You still get to pick knowing if your target fled or not, so still some flexibility. Yeah, that's true. On the Swift Stride, you declare it when you make the roll, so it's after you know how far you have to go. They made Spectral Doppelganger, sort of the quest builds, viable. 2d6 hits with basically a Frontier Axe at initiative 10 is kind of crazy. Okay, I'm interested to get to that one, because I don't know about initiative changes. Cool. So, what else have we got? How does a unit of skirmishers form up when charged by 2 or more different enemy units from different directions? The skirmishers should form up against the first charging unit to move into contact with them. The remaining enemy units then charge the formed skirmishers. If any units are unable to complete their charge moves, the charges have failed. Yeah, so skirmishers are a nightmare of rules, and I don't think it was clear what they were before. This clarifies this is how I've been playing them. If you get multi-charged, one makes it in, then you rank them up, and I think it's the common sense way, but I don't think it was spelled out at all in the rules, so this is a good change. What else have we got? So happy they nerf sisters. I play Wood Elves and hated how OP they are. Most Wood Elf players that I've seen have been like, yeah, glad this is gone. Now we can get back to doing the proper stuff. Filling my my opponent with a cloud of arrows from a long distance. Good stuff there. Landon's now pushing the hit the like button. Yeah, do hit the like, subscribe. Check out the Discord down below. All of that good stuff. Do try and put out 2 videos and 3 streams a week at current. Way Watchers are back, I hope. Maybe. I'll have to have a look. And Edward is tired of beans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I literally have some beans in my room right now, just in terms of storage. I've got some behind this screen behind me. Lambo, I hit dislike. I can't stop you from doing that, Nick, but I do resent you for it. Do skirmishers have flank or rear arcs while engaged in combat? No. That's very funny. Because it wasn't clear before, I played them as they did, because when they ranked up, they were technically a not quite skirmish unit, but this just says that they don't. That's fine. I'm okay with them not getting the +1 to be charged in the flank. Honestly, skirmishers usually just fold to combat, so I don't think it makes a real difference. I'm not going to read that one out. Characters. If a unit is subject to any leadership modifiers... No, if a unit that is subject to any leadership modifiers uses the General's Inspiring Presence rule, does the unit ignore these modifiers? No, the modifiers still apply. For example, if a unit loses a round of combat to an enemy that causes terror, the -1 leadership still applies. Yeah, cool. So that's... I don't know what they changed here compared to last time, because this is the same ruling as last time. I guess the wording was just neatened up in some way to prevent some sort of fringe modifier. What it doesn't say is... Technically, I think modifiers that debuff the general and then debuff you, I think, still apply twice. I think. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. I haven't looked into leadership modifiers for a little bit, but yeah, there's something there I'm sure that we could dig into if needs be. Okay, what else have we got? A clumsy unit cannot be joined by a character that is not also clumsy, but can a clumsy character join a unit that is not clumsy? Yes. Yes! this is how it worked before. Basically, a clumsy unit is something like monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry. You can't join regular infantry and cavalry to those units. Oh no, I think it's just monstrous cavalry. I don't think monstrous infantry have it. But monstrous cav, you can't join a regular character to that unit, but you can do it vice versa. This is good. This is how the rule is written, and it prevents TOs from getting the rule wrong. Shout out to Michael, Beastman player Michael, who was absolutely ruined by this at an event, and he was told by 2 people who said that they were playtesters that this is how the rule didn't interact, and that his Minotaur couldn't join the unit of Gauls. So justice for Michael. Glad that's been clarified, and no one will ever have to suffer again from the ignominy of having your Minotaur taken out of your unit of Gauls. The leadership is quite big for Pure of Heart. How do you mean, Goldfire? What difference does this take? Oh, okay. They've added this bracket or any other rule that allows a unit to use the leadership of nearby characters. That's the thing that's added. Previously, it just said generals inspiring presence rule. It doesn't also have that bit. I'm with you. Aren't we all playtesters at this point? I honestly, people complain a lot, and it's because the internet's out. This is not a particularly poorly written version of fantasy, from what I can tell. It's not a super well written one, but it's also pretty well balanced. So yeah, we are the experiment. I'm going to push back, guys. I think this game is, by fantasy standards, not super poorly written. If you're coming from 9th Age, you're going to have a shock, because 9th Age was, I think, very tight. But, and maybe 8th edition was as well, but a lot of previous edition of fantasy, when I used to play back in the day, it was not tight at all. Except for Legacy Armies. Yeah, except for Legacy Armies. We just talk about those. Does a unit that is joined by a character of a different troop type gain the rules associated with the character's troop type? No. That's fine. That's, again, just clarifying if you've got, cavalry in a unit. And this, I guess, is very similar to the countercharge example, where if you've got, a demigryph in a unit of state troops that charges a unit of cavalry with countercharge, somehow, whether it prevents them or allows them to countercharge. I'm not sure which interaction this prevents, but I guess it's good just to have it clarified overall. Can we have a little bit more hyperbole, please? No, you can't. They were written in a shed. Yeah, the Warhammer World's not a shed, or it's the fanciest shed you've ever seen, if it is. Any other rules on this page? No. We are getting through. What else have we got? Is the armor value of a ward save improved by a shield barding or magic item that improves armor? No. Again, I'd have liked a little bit of sass here. I think that would have been a good place to have some classic Games Workshop rules writer sass. This is what I would have liked to have seen, because that is pretty clear. So, yeah, it's what it is. 40k, current edition sets the bar for poorly written set of rules. You need an entirely new book of rules commentary. Yes, but it's also a super well balanced game. So, and then I feel like it doesn't have much soul to it. So I'm not. Yeah. Stop asking this question. No. Yeah, basically, maybe that's why it's in blue. They're they just changed a comma or something, but they were we're gonna highlight this because you fucks still keep asking us. The game is playable out of the book, so better than 8th. Yeah, that's exactly that. Balanced but bland. Yes, that's how I would describe 40k. Some people do enjoy it, and more power to them. I'm not here to shit on them. Obviously, I played 40k for a long time, had a good time with it. I wouldn't be here right now if I hadn't played 40k and decided to do content from there. Alrighty then. What do we got? So we're into the lore of magic. How does the Spectral Doppelganger spell interact with weapons that have either strikes first or strikes last special rule? The spell is cast at the wizard's initiative, meaning attacks generated by the spell are at the wizard's initiative. However, if the casting wizard wishes to use a weapon that with the strikes last special rule, these attacks are made at initiative 1. That's interesting. So, I think the way that works is you cast Spectral Doppelganger at, let's say you're initiative 3. You charge, you're initiative 6. You cast the spell at initiative 6. The hits then don't take priority if you've got strikes last until initiative 4, because it's initiative 1 plus your charge bonus. Oh no, it literally just says that the attacks are made at initiative 1, so you don't even get your charge bonus. I think that's interesting. Yeah, they need to rename strikes first and strikes last to fast and slow. I agree, Nis. That would be a good way. Strikes sooner or strikes later. Chad, what happens if your wizard dies before the attacks are actually made? Because they're made at initiative step, they don't happen. He's just not there to make them. So that definitely nerfs the fun Hammer of Righteousness build. Although, actually, is the Hammer of Righteousness strikes last? I think it might be. I'll have to double check that one. Yeah. Yeah, that's... this makes sense, but most of the time you want to hit someone very hard with a big weapon, and the big weapons typically have strikes last, so this feels like a little bit of a bummer. The attacks are made at initiative 1, but you still get the bonus from charging. It's just setting the baseline, surely. I don't know if it is. I think maybe rules is written, it purely isn't. I think the way everyone will and should play it is that it would strike at initiative 1 and then any other modifiers. Saurus, did you misunderstand it? What did you misunderstand, bud? They're like stomps now. I assume them works at initiative 1 and was them lazily not typing strikes last. I think that's what they intended. I don't think that's what they've written. Clearly Games Workshop would never mess up an FAQ answer. Yeah. No, it wouldn't be. They wouldn't do that for the second time. So the change here that we're seeing is previously it just said you don't get the benefit of strikes first on a weapon. So weirdly, initiative, like strikes first, strikes last, does interact with the caster, but only if it's negative. That's basically how that works, which is interesting. The initiative of Spectral Doppelganger. Yeah. So you cast at initiative, and then hits are done at the initiative of the weapon, but technically I think it strikes 1 even if you have charge bonus. Interesting one. I don't want to talk about that one too much more, because I think this is very silly, and I don't know if I'm 100% right. I'm only about 95% confident on that. So I think that's one that we maybe ask for clarification on, and hopefully they tweak it. Magic items. Bearing 2 or more obsidian lodestones gives a better magic resist, but does the obsidian lodestone improve magic resist granted by a different source? Answer, no. This is fine. This is just clarifying it. I think the wording on obsidian lodestone is clear on that as it stands. In fact, let's have a quick look. I don't think it needed to be in here, but again, I'm not upset to see things like this clarified where people are genuinely confused about it. It just... I'm not sure who is confused about it. So it's a talisman. Yeah, this very specifically says it's not that it stacks. It's literally that if you buy 3 of these, you have magic resist 3. So it's not stacking. Can I buy magic items for my spectral doppelganger? Hey. What if your spectral doppelganger drinks a potion of speed? Very good. Yes. I don't know. If strikes last applies, then strikes first would also apply. Yes, it would, but you only cast at the initiative. So you cast at initiative, let's say 7, and then your attacks... Oh, are your attacks miss because you're past strikes first initiative? That's funny. That's a funny thought. Strikes, I think the way it works is strikes first doesn't meaningfully interact because you cast at your normal initiative. Breaking the timeline. Yeah, absolutely. You need a time machine to be able to do the casting there. Does a magic standard that affects a unit's weapons also make those weapons magical, giving them the magical attack special rule? So, I understand that this is the way that the rule works, and I wasn't confused about it. I think it should give them magical attacks, because fuck the Green Knight. Put a magic banner in a unit, suddenly that unit can kill the Green Knight. I think that, suddenly fixes a lot of problems with them. And I'd take more standards in my list, so, that would be good. So the answer is no. Not unless the description of the magic standard in question states that the weapons of a unit carrying it gain the magical attack special rule. Generally speaking, purchasing a magic item doesn't conjure up additional bonuses from the Aether. Oh, that's a nice little bit of sass. I like that. That's cute. That's good there. You catch... Love my ensorcelled weapons. Yeah, ensorcelled weapons are real good. One of the reasons I do enjoy Warriors of Chaos. Question, if a wizard wears the wizarding hat, does it increase their level of wizardry? No, they are a level 1 wizard and they know one randomly generated spell. This is clearly a huge detriment to a powerful wizard, but maybe a boon to any character that is not a wizard. Ah, that's great. That is such a fun wording on there. I really like that. So I think it wasn't actually clear how it worked. I think it was clear how it worked if you wanted to take it on a wizard and get an additional spell, but people didn't want it to be that way. So this is nice. It is a huge detriment to a powerful wizard, but maybe a boon to a character that is not a wizard. Is there a world where you take a level 1 wizard and you give it a wizarding hat so you can take 2 level 1 spells? I don't think there is. I think that's actively bad, but that could do something. If a model has strikes first. Alright, so Old World Wanderers. So we're not talking about whether the model has strikes first, it's whether the weapon has strikes first. That's what the Spectral Doppelganger wording is talking about. Strikes first or strikes last from a weapon does not affect the initiative that the character casts at. It casts at its own initiative plus or minus any modifiers, not including the weapons, but then the hits are resolved at the initiative of the weapon. That's the difference. Is there a world where you take a level 1 wizard? Troll Hag, that's the only one that I can think of. I'm about to take the Green Knight out of my list because unless the player is foolish enough to leave a flank to a forest or bring barely any magic weapons, he's just a dead weight. I don't think the way that he's played now is changed from how people should have been playing him. So unless you were popping him out of vortexes, which was I'm not a fan of. You can take 11 Bray Shamans with Vile Tide. Stonks. Huge fan of that. Wizarding Hat isn't terrible on Zinch characters because they'll cast it at +3 when near in a unit near the arcane item. That's true. That is true because they will become a wizard. Vampire counts level 1s if you have a Mortis are usable. All of these points are very good. Good job, chat. You found the niche cases. I'm a big fan of that. That's fun. All right. Here's the one that's going to cause me. Never played anything but him coming out of a forest. The rest seems so incorrect. Oh, so what do you think's changed then, bud? Because that seems, as far as I'm aware, that's exactly the same as how he's played now. Wizarding Hat and a Slan Mage Priest. Oh, you found a way to make the Slan worse. Now he's 450 points and also a level 1 caster instead of the less efficient level 4. Yeah, so can a wizard with a lore familiar choose one of the faction's signature spells instead of the signature spell of their chosen lore? Oh, interesting. So let's have a look at the wording on lore familiar, because that's not the nerf that I thought it was going to be, honestly. Let's have a look here. I got to pick every spell I want to except for a spell I inherently have access to. Yeah, that is weird. So the owner of a lore familiar does not randomly generate their spells. Instead, they may choose which spells they know from their chosen lore, including that lore's signature spell. Okay, I think when I read this, I just missed that off the top of my head. So I was thinking that lore familiar wouldn't let you change to your signature spell at all. That's interesting. You literally can't choose to your faction's signature spells. Why is that a change? I wasn't playing it like that because rules is written you don't get your special lore, but it's still dumb. I was playing it like that, but then also I don't think I was doing it very often because all of the armies I play don't have particularly good faction-specific special rules or special laws. You're the Mikey of Old World. Take that as you want. I'm going to take it as a compliment. We'll just leave that there. Lore familiar affects items in the Warriors of Chaos, Arcane Journal 2, and possibly the Empire one. It's massive with vampire counts. This is huge for armies like Wood Elves that need their signature spell. That's very true. That is very true. As an Empire player, this is a complete win. Adam, you are correct. If you don't have any faction special rules, why would you care about losing them? It's a very good point. Very good. Very good. All right, and then we've got this one here. This is just the clarification from previously. You take the items from the book that you're in. All right, cool, good stuff. No more lore familiars. I'll still be taking lore familiar most of the time, I think. Unless you've got, it just makes the armies that've got the like spell familiars, the +1 spell known, even better. So that's a bit of a weird one. Corathan, going with the way they changed the wording of Daughters of Eternity to models with the special rule, does Skinwolves pass the mutations bonus to characters that join? Oh no. I think rules is written yes, but also they really shouldn't. Like, yeah, that's a very good point and also an upsetting point. Because it's not models with the special rule have it. +1 spell and weighted dice are all you need. I'm disappointed in you, Steve. That's not the attitude that I expect from a winner. Makes sense. It's a lore familiar and the book spells are in a different lore. That's a good point. Yeah. I can't argue with that, can I? Sure. I don't think that FAQs are supposed to be massive balance patches. No, that's true. That's true. Why did they make it specific instead of clarifying what this unit means? Yeah, that would have been a way better way of doing things. But no, they didn't do that. All right, so how do we feel about this? How do we feel about changes? Next video is every remaining vague rule in 2028. Done by 2028. Yes, that's true. War dancers have worded the same as skin wolves and have an exception that lets a character benefit. Interesting. So we've got a little bit of column A, column B there. I'm surprised they didn't apply the Sisters of the Thorn change to the skin wolves. Yeah, like, I'd rather have just seen them write it as a specific rule. So how do we feel like armies are going to shake out from this? Let's just go tier maker. Is there a... Oh, I'd have to... If I can find Warhammer, I wonder if I've got it to hand. Because it'd be interesting to see where we can shake out. If I type Warhammer Old World, what comes up there? Oh, okay. Warhammer Old World factions. So how do we feel about factions then? Like, what changes do we expect? So Ogres, I think, got no changes at all. So they're still down at the bottom. I can't see any difference here at all for Ogres. Chaos Dwarves got a little bit of a nerf. I think they're probably sat around B. This is just sort of rough, like, first thoughts. It might be interesting to see where the meta... I'm expecting to see it shake out. We can come back and look at it in 3 months. You feel like Carpenters in the old world are really undervalued for the work. I mean, if the fences can literally stop dragons from breaking through them. That's true. That's true. Carpenters OP. Gobbos are untouched. Yep. I don't think anyone moves seriously except from Wood Elves. Yeah, maybe. That's a good point. So Wood Elves, let's start them off. They go from being... I think Wood Elves go down to B tier. I think they take a real... yeah, there's a lot of changes that take a big difference there. Dark Elves. Where are Dark Elves on here? Dark Elves. I think Dark Elves move down a tier. I think the way to play Dark Elves well really abuses the fact that you've got loads of scouts. So losing the +1 to go first is really big, because you definitely want to be taking the Dark Riders in core, so I think that really moves them down. Peg Knights got buffed for grindy combat since they have no flank or rear. That is true. I think Bretonians stay in S tier. They're really up there. Tomb Kings currently... They got, if anything, they got buffs with the way that the healing might interact with the chariots. Brett's got better countercharges and blunt lancers. Yeah, no, that's super true. Super true. Evil Sunshining not stacking does affect the Goblin Poison Star. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it makes you consider whether the second level 4 is worth it. Yeah, that's fair. I think it was a lot of points sunk in for... Like, I know you're getting the reliability on it, but I think you're okay with just taking a single level 4. Lizardmen can stay down in terrible. Vampire counts didn't get touched at all. I think they stay up in probably A tier for me. Just think about the big and boars. Oh, the big and boars, yeah. Orcs. Orcs are definitely an A. I think they probably would have been there before, but big and boars, that's a lot of fun. I've literally been building your boars today. Strength 5 boars in the charge, yeah. Becoming strength 6 if you've got the correct flag as well. So huge fan of that. Demons can stay down in terrible. I don't know if demons are terrible. Maybe demons are mediocre. I feel like they've got a little bit more. Boars. You think it's a minor nerf to the Tomb King caster? It's not that major. What Tomb King caster nerf did they get? Big Pig Energy. Hell yeah. I love Nomadic War. It's a lot of fun. I was thinking about taking a double dragon list, double Wyvern Nomadic War list to an event this weekend at the TSN Arena, but it didn't sell out. So, well, it only sold 2 tickets, so it's not going forwards, which is, you know, a shame. What do we got? You're 4 minutes behind. Ian says, Black Horrors as gem helped you demolish some Dowie. I can't stand the unreliability of it, Ian. When you see this in 4 minutes, get back to me. D for Demons. Yep. Lore Familiar, probably a staple in Tomb Kings. Oh, yes, no, that's a good point. The caster nerf, yes, good point, because they can't take... Ooh, that is actually a bit of a nerf. I think they're still probably up in S tier for Tomb Kings, though, even with that. Chaos Dwarves only got worse. Yeah. I think they're still, like... I don't think the best list was running the double Cloud of Ash build for Chaos Dwarves, so I'm okay with leaving them in B. Can't guarantee Doppelganger and the Signature Reserve Mail. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying all. Tomb King on Drab. Why stop at double? Lore Familiar nerf is a problem for Tomb Kings. Yep. Beastmen do like Wood Elves being worse. That is true. I can't argue with it. Matthew says 30 Wolf Riders on your painting desk. Hell yeah, that's exciting. Looking forward to seeing those. Double Dragon, double Necrosphinx, nothing to see here. Yeah, I think that's a good build. I can see that being good. Tomb Kings have so much going for them that a small change like Lore Familiar does very little. That's true. I do agree with that. Did Dark Elf Doomfire Warlocks get a buff or overlooked? Yeah, so Doomfire Warlocks are now more comparable to Sisters of the Thorn because they didn't get nerfed. I mean, I still probably don't take them because I think they're terrible, but that's interesting. That is interesting. Doppelganger on the charge with the Great Weapon Initiative 1 or 4. So, Steve, I think it should be 4, but I think it is actually 1. I think it's very poorly written. It is an interesting one there. Brett's buffed by way of gunlines being less likely to get +1 to go first. Oh, that's a good point. So does that make Beastman go up to A tier? Because their natural predator, the gunline, is a lot harder for them to they're more likely to go first against. That's spicy. That's spicy. Do I think that they're all-round great? I don't know if I can put them there. I think maybe we're talking B, like top of B. Move the Chaos Dwarves down. Brett's mostly can't go first on the Exiles. Yeah, but everyone's playing Exiles, right? It's like how they don't know how their initiative rules work. I wouldn't say that, but that is correct. I think builds adapt and take less scouts. I agree. Yeah. There's a good chance that I just drop all scouts from my list, but that means that all of my drops go up to like 6 or 7 as opposed to the 4 or 5 that I was playing previously. So I think like down here that is a big difference because going first and having that pressure, especially with the bullshit you can do with Pillar of Fire for Dark Elves, where you can drop it 24 inches turn 1 and just move it through your entire opponent's army before they've had chance to move out and sort of spread out. That's huge. Cannons take a big nerf to hills. That's true. More Reaper Bolt Throwers. Why are Scouts bad? Tizzy, the change is that Scouts now count as the +1 to who goes first. So if I have 1 unit of Scouts and I deploy them as Scouts, I'm always losing the +1 to go first. It wasn't clear. Some tournaments were playing it that way, some were playing it the other way. But, you know, the tournaments that I were playing did have Scouts as not counting towards the +1. How many TOs have hills on the board? Trey, did the events you go to not have hills? I think every map pack I've seen has hills. The hill is the natural predator of the cannon. Yeah. Just imagining a hill dragging itself along, sneaking up on a cannon and then clomping it. That's definitely one approach. Snotling's nerfed. Oh no. But the 90 Snotling build that we very seriously ran, how are we gonna... I can't win another event. I'll never recover from this. Very thematic that Scouts give you a disadvantage. Yeah, that is a great point, Brian. It's funny. Scouts should be there to give you more information about the opponent, but instead, no. All the people arguing forest stop cannons now in shambles. Only hills are best friend. Yeah, artillery is almost impossible to hit now if it's on a hill versus a cannon. Yeah, I'll have to look at that one more. Dwarves, have dwarves got better or worse? I don't know. Empire are probably still in B tier. That one's a nice easy one to do. I feel like High Elves are still in B tier. Skaven is still mediocre. Quickmen to the hills. The cannons can't reach us here. Rocklobber stonks go up. Scouts slow you down as the general is too busy waiting for the reports before making a move. I like that logic. That does make sense. The opponent merely takes the initiative. Dwarf cannons got worse, but nobody ran them anyway. Yeah. So dwarf cannons are kind of nice if you want to use them as like anti-Pegasus tech, because they're better than stone throwers for killing Pegasus. That's something. Empire is probably worse now since cannons are worse. Yeah, but because of the Arcane Journal, they're still... they've got more playable ways to run, so they're not super reliant on cannons. No one has ever taken cover in forest. That's a good point, Edward. No one has ever taken cover in a forest. What else have we got here? Skaven would be in D tier if they existed, which they obviously don't. Yes, and that's why they're in C tier. There's bullshit you can do with Skaven. Like, I don't think there's bullshit you can do with Ogres or Lizardmen. I think they're just bad books, whereas Skaven are a bad book that you also get to, you know, do ridiculous shenanigans with. That's right. Skaven aren't real. Cannons are kind of unchanged. It's only the other cannons that want to hide on the hill on the other side of the board. Peg Knights on a hill is going to give armies nightmares now. That's funny. He's just like, oh, I'm safe from being charged because I'm stood as high up as possible. Interesting. It's the only game it's ever worked in, but absolutely controlled Andrakes, so no complaints. Yeah, I could see Black Horror being good against Dwarves specifically, because they move so slowly. Again, hit me up in 4 minutes when you get my comment. Cannons shouldn't be able to shoot through woods. I've chosen this hill to die on, and you can't stop me because hills are immune to cannons. That's a good point, Edward. You stand on top of a hill, and you sermonize, and you make sure that everyone knows all of your opinions, because they'll never be able to hit you with those cannons. T-pose to assert dominance. Yep, big fan of that. Doom Diver remains king. I do like a Doom Diver. I was thinking about doing a couple of rock clubbers. And then I just looked at the Doom Diver rules again. I was like, oh, I'm going to be so sad when I scatter 4 inches and just don't do anything at all. Warriors of Chaos are still S tier. And Dwarves are... I feel like Dwarves are still in B tier. I feel like this just hasn't really changed much other than Wood Elves have dropped down. Is there anyone that I'd move up in that tier? I am almost tempted to say Beastman got better because shooting got worse. But we'll have to see on that one. In fact, no, let's be bold. Let's put Beastman in A tier. I don't believe it, but we want to make bold predictions, right? Yeah, well, it's a good time for me to swap to a new army, which is what I was thinking about doing anyway, because I think Dark Elves got noticeably worse in a way that I don't think any other army really did, other than, well, Wood Elves. Dwarves in B, unless Richie's playing them, then they're S. Yeah, Richie's pretty good at Dwarves. Beastman mentioned woo. Meta Chase Ed. Jordan, how dare you? I started off playing Orcs and Goblins, and then I played Skaven, and then I played Dark Elves. I'll do what I want. I've earned my time in the sun. Swap to more Legend armies. I hear they're totally the future. It's the reason that I'm less likely to do that is because they don't get additional rules, right? They don't get the Arcane Journals, so they get less fun stuff, and the fun stuff is fun. We are still expecting the General's Handbook. I am. UK TC Knots rules, you get hit by it again for whether standing on a vortex re-triggers the hit. No, we don't get a clarification for that because it's clear in the rules. They've just made a ruling that is wrong. I'm not really sure why that's in there, honestly. To be clear, it feels like vortexes should do damage to you if you stand on top of them, but they don't. It's in the wording. I'm not against it being that way. With the I guess the problem is Pillar of Fire is so good, and it doesn't need to be buffed. So this buffing Pillar of Fire is a bad thing. But like as a rule, thematically, I think it makes sense. So I don't know. I'm about forgets about Teen Wood Elf phase. Yeah, I mean I played them for one online event. I don't know if I'd class that as playing them properly. Callum says time to change the Discord name. Yeah, change it to more Beastman content. That might be a good. More Brett content. Yeah, I might do Bretonians. I'm not sure that I'm in love with them. I'm really looking forward to High Elves. Like, just give me my double dragons, but through a different lens, eh? That'd be cool. Enough Dark Elf content. Yeah, that's good. Is there any evidence of a General's Handbook? There is no evidence, but there will be one. What else are we looking at here? Is there anything else that's worth going through? Skaven's cannons laugh at units hiding on hills. Yeah, yeah, because it doesn't have the crunch rule. Hear me out, full send Treeman list. I've played it, Jordan. I played it on stream. It won a game only because my opponent brought a toned down list that was specifically written to have like a fair fight against it. Fight Winslow to be the Lord of the Beastman, Ed. Yeah, that'll be super easy to do because he lives in England. I'm onto you, Winslow. I know that you're actually secretly British. Hyped for the Wood Elf book. Yeah, me too. I'm gonna will it into existence, damn right. Saw a unit get hit by double pillar, fall back in good order through the double pillar, got hit by it again at the start of the next turn. It does need a fix, yeah. I'd love to see Pillar of Flame fixed. Yeah, that's a point. What is there that we want to see fixed that wasn't fixed? So Falconhorn, would love to see that changed. Pillar of Fire, would love to see that changed as well. Secretly British sounds like a 2000s indies band. That's true. That's true. The Treeman list is the one use for the elementalism signature spell. Makes Tree Wax more likely to go off. Oh, that's a very good point. I didn't pick that at all. I picked Tree Singing instead. What would you take with your dragons in a high elf list? Whatever comes in the Arcane Journal, because right now there's not a lot of stuff I want to take with them. Give them the big branch to the face. Skirmishing pegs. Yeah, I wouldn't be upset to see them lose skirmish. Travel mystical pathways. Brian, it's very clear they're not interested in full and balance changes. I don't think this is where full and balance changes should come. I think they should come in like a channel's handbook or something like that. So, yeah, what have I missed? Has my dragon been halved in points? Yes, D Major. All dragons are now only 20 points. You can run 300 of them, and everyone can have a good time, I guess. Excellent comment. Good stuff. I think the next best thing we should be doing is let's have a look at what does a wood elf list look like, because it's definitely different. What do we put into a wood elf list? Because I mean, I'm not sure really. Someone proposed a vortex change where they all move randomly, but if you roll a hit for the direction you can choose, buffs every vortex that isn't pillar. Interesting. So they all move randomly, including Pillar of Fire, but if you roll a hit on the direction, you don't buff the nerfed pillar. That's interesting. This is the content we want. Hell yeah. 5 units of 30 Glade Guard. Perfect. Hear me out. 5 Sisters Without Command. Still a good unit. You just have to adjust your expectations from what they were. It's the time of the Way Watchers. Is it, though? Is it? So if we go to... Where's the Wood Elves? Like, what the hell are we running in Wood Elves? Like, what are we doing? Because the Sister of the Thorn did a lot of the heavy lifting, right? So we still probably, like, I feel like this is where the dragon probably comes back into the list. I'm not a dragon enjoyer for Wood Elves, but I think you probably want to put the dragon back in, because you need something to do the heavy lifting, and then you still want a level 4 character, which isn't a Treeman Ancient because you want Lore Familiar. But if you have Lore Familiar, you don't get Tree Singing, so you can't play around with it. Oh, God. We need some AP now as we lose the pillars. Elementalism caster, maybe. I could see that. Yeah, I could see Elementalism as a caster. And then maybe go heavier on the shooting. Maybe that's the plan. Spam Wild Riders, get War Dancing. Also have extra bows with Bodkins. I don't think Bodkins are the way to go, because you'll struggle to wound. So let's go start off with the general. So we're going to go with the Great Weapon. Don't need a shield. Forest Dragon, Annoyance, and Befuddlement. So for anyone who's not a Wood Elf player, basically the combination you go for on a Wood Elf character, because you can't get a good armor save, you have to have defenses in other ways. You go for a Befuddlement of Mischiefs, which is a -1 to weapon skill and initiative for a single enemy unit in base to base with you. And an Annoyance of Netlings, which is when you're in a challenge, your opponents suffer -1 to rolls to hit. So that is... that's the combination there. So you're always harder to hit. And then you go for some other rules. Elks. I'm a big fan of the Stags. I do love the Stags. Trey says, while we're talking about Wood Elves, can you make a ruling for me on whether a Waystalker can snipe with a Ruby Ring? It can't, unfortunately. It has been clarified in a previous FAQ. I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's definitely in there. It's only the shooting specifically. I remember that from early on. Let's talk about Wood Elves. What's next? Talking about Wood Elves. If, for those of you who are new to the stream, if you do like the list building content, every other Friday I do a Fix My List tier list, or no, Fix My List stream, I should say. Viewers can submit their lists on the Discord. Do join. I'll put a post out on the Thursday before. Don't put your list in before then. But if you want me to look at your list, I absolutely can do at the time. Lawrence, so sad to play Dark Elves. I know. It's so sad. Ryan says he said doo-doo. That's something that's so childish and so funny to say. That's like a family thing that we definitely all laugh at every time it comes up. Hot take, you take the same Wood Elf list and just hope to get lucky, not use scouts and hope it's fine. I'm not rolling that 1 in 6 to get Pillar of Fire. Like, that's not happening. That doesn't feel like a good use of my time. So magic items here. I'd be kind of tempted to go for an Armor of Destiny, honestly. So you get a 4-up ward save. You lose 1 armor save in melee if you don't use a shield, but you can just take a shield and get the 5-up. But maybe we don't bother with that. You could also just go Talisman of Protection. Jack, did something new drop today? Yeah, we've got FAQs. All of the FAQs have been updated for Raveling Hordes, Forces of Fantasy, and for the base rulebook as well. You can find them if you go to warhammer-community.com. In the top right-hand side, there is a big yellow button that says Downloads. Navigate to Old World. You can see them there. They're under the recently updated tab, so good stuff. What else have we got? I might just roll 3 pillars. That would be so funny. Why wouldn't standing on a vortex trigger it? Because it says in the rules that it's only when the vortex moves over you, not when you touch the vortex. Level 4 in Steed and Glade Riders gets reserve moves, so it can have Law Familiar, but Oaken Staff is very good. Yes, that's true. That's over 500 points, may be a factor with the alleged comp pack. Yeah, I'm going to write it as if there is no comp pack. There is now an article up. Oh, hell yeah. Let's have a look at the article. Let's go back to... I think it was this tab that I had it on. No, it definitely wasn't. It was this tab. There we go. So if we go back to Warhammer Community, let's have a look. Latest news. I don't think there is one. Doesn't look like there's a new... Unless I'm missing it. Let's have a look under the Old World tab, unless it's not gone up correctly. No, I don't think we've got that yet. Law Familiar nerf kills most of the low-level casters we see. Got the email but didn't check. Oh, there's an email saying there's been a nerf. That's interesting. So where was I at? Okay, if we go back to here, go back to the list build tab. No worries. We can have a look at that if it does pop up in the next hour or so. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to stream. Probably another 30 minutes or an hour. Depends how things are going. So, what have we got as well? Well, so Glade Lord, I'm going to write this list as if there isn't a 500-point cap, because I think that's a more valid list. We'll see if that comes in. You think Way Watchers aren't terrible. 3 points more than Deepwood Scouts for feigned flight and +1 ballistic skill. People were already taking Deepwood Scouts in special, and Rare is less stacked. So Rare is less stacked, but I don't see you taking 1,000 points of special. I just don't see that being an issue. But we can have a look at them. So let's write this. How am I taking my Lord? Is there anything here? I don't know that there is that I'm super bothered about taking. I think, honestly, if I'm taking a Lord... It's been a little while since I wrote anything. What you can do is you can take the Armor of Meteoric Iron and the Talisman of Protection. Or you could take... Oh, no, fuck it. Let's just go with this, because this scales better. The 5-up, 5-up is probably more efficient against the things that are actually going to kill you. So you don't need a shield, you're 509 points. And if you do need to drop something, you could just drop the Befuddlement of Mischiefs, taking, the -1 weapon skill. So that way your opponents are still hitting you at -1 to hit. It's a super easy change to make. Ginger Steve, now want to call someone 1,000 points of special. That's a very British insult, isn't it? That's exactly the sort of thing that, rolls off the tongue. Would pay to read the Warhammer upgrade. Okay, apparently there's a Warhammer community update email that went out, and it wasn't even mentioned on there. Law Familiar with Elementalism and a unit of Treekin to buff. You can take the signature to get more tree wax off. Nicholas, I like Way Watchers. Only problem is the Waystalk attacks. If you take a dragon at +level 4, then you have to cut the level 2. Maybe that's the play, though. Yeah, maybe if we're not going for the full Pillar of Fire spam, we don't need the level 2. And if you're taking the level 4... Oh, but if you're taking a level 4... Here's the problem. Oaken Save's really good, so I think you have to take it, but then you're not taking Law Familiar, so you're rolling for your spells. That feels risky. I don't love that. That is what's nice about having the level 2, isn't it? Alright, well, let's come back to characters in a second. So, core, I still like my 2 units of Deepwood Scouts, giving them Hagbane tips. I like Musicians, because they are fleeing, or evasiving. They're going to be running away some of the time. Yes, they've got Fire and Flee. They don't have Feigned Flight, so they don't auto-rally. So going from their leadership 8 to passing on a 9 if they're not in General's leadership is just nice to have. So 2 units of 8 on the Deepwood Scouts. Here's how we know that what Winslow is. What a biscuit. I'm sorry, I seem to have started some abuse for you, Winslow. It wasn't my intention. But the people know. The people know that you're truly British. Was it pointed out yet that Doomfire can still pick their spells buffed in a way? Yeah, it was pointed out, and I still don't know that you take them, which is very funny. So we're going to take 5 Glade Guard because you have to. Got to think about those potential level 3-4 restrictions. Okay, let's write the list as if the rumoured changes are coming in. So we're going to take this off, and we've got a Glade Lord that's under 500 points, and then we'll take a level 4 as well, which is going to be Spellweaver, level 4. Probably going to be a steed. I am loath to put it on Talisman. I think we have to go Oakenstave. I think Oakenstave is so good, which means that we take Battle Magic. Because if you're dry rolling spells, Battle Magic is very good. Which means if we're taking this unit, we're also taking a unit of Glade Riders to attach it to. Which we take a Musician and Glade Knight to protect with that. And then we take the Hagbane Tips and we take Reserve Move. So that takes us to 3 points missing. Is there anything else we want to go with? I guess we could give this unit a Musician. We can come back and tweak if needs be, but that takes us just above the capped core. Rolling for your spells is the new not rolling for your spells. I know, it makes me uncomfortable. Glade Riders with a Spellweaver would be great. Yeah, that's what they've been pretty good already. So then if we put in the Spell Singer, because you want a level 2 with Lore Familiar, I think, this is the Elementalism caster we go for. And then we go for a Power Scroll for getting that key pillar of Plague of Rust off if we need it. I think maybe that's the play. I'm not confident on this. Maybe this gets changed. So then into Special, we can take... I'm assuming that Rule of 3 is going to come in as well. So that's going to change how I write the list. Okay, so that gives us about 500 points. We've got a third unit of Deepwood Scouts. So this gives us 3 units of Deepwood Scouts, which are just the best, archers that you can take point for point, in my opinion. Is there anything else that we go with where we're looking at rare? Honestly, Eagles could come back in, but I'm not super in love with them. Treemen don't. Special units... I don't know. I'm not really sure if there's anything over here that I'm super in love with. The Rangers, the weird infantry melee unit with the Rangers Glaives. Yeah, so they definitely don't go in because they're terrible. War Dancers... Sister Thorn. I kind of feel like I want to play the same evasive playstyle, but with just like a couple of heavy hitters. Dance it up, yeah. I don't think they're fast enough, unfortunately. Treekin. Sisters are still good. Sisters now have to... I don't see you taking Sisters. So, how many points are they? 120 points for 5. What does that give you? So it does give you a T3 unit with a fort ward, which is fine against heavy hitters, but dies very quickly to indirect, if they have to be close to the opponent to do anything useful, they're just going to die to incidental firepower. Like, they fall over to a Ruba Ring of Ruin or something like that, right? Vortex is only triggering when they move, kills every vortex except pillar and debuff ones, right? Yep, that's right, Ian. That's why nobody plays them, unfortunately. A Treekin to have 2 T6 points denial things. I don't think they actually are that points denial. They don't take that long to kill. What I could see is... There's no way we can fit a level 4... Hold on. If we go Treeman Ancient and make it a level 4, that is 43 points too many. Is there a way we can shave to get a level 4 Elementalism caster in here? Because that could be interesting. And that way we can keep our Oakenstave 43 points too many. Like, that's so many points to cut. We could drop the Annoyance, which I don't love doing. And then we need to drop... No, this just doesn't fit in. Like, I'm not dropping down to... Oh, but then you could only have a level 3. Make one of the wizards a level 3, yeah. So I'd normally say no, but with the rumoured changes coming, maybe that's the way to do it. So, do we just go a level 3 Elementalism caster? But then you're only 50-50 rolling the spells you want. Oh, okay. So we're going to try level 4 here, and then we're going to go like that. Does this work? What else do I have to drop? Oh, I've paid twice. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Can't you do a second Spellweaver? No, you're capped at 1 Spellweaver or Glade Lord per 1,000 points. I don't think the Treeman makes it in. I think that's not how this is done. I think we go back to the level 4, and I think we go back to the level 2 as well. And the level 2 is our Elementalism caster. And we take magic items, Lore Familiar. And because you're going Elementalism, you're going to be taking, realistically, Plague of Rust for the -2 to armor value, which casts on a 9, so you get it off 56% of the time. We're going to go for a... whatchamacallit as well. Earthen Ramparts, Windblast. Windblast is probably the other one that you go for, or maybe TMP. It depends on the game, but you take the Power Scroll there, yeah. This is my current list, and it's not full to miss out on spells. Yeah, no, I imagine. Plague of Rust, Nether, Windblaster, TMB. Yeah, 100%. It's the current characters. Yeah, this is a fairly standard loadout, I think. We're going to put the Forest Spites back on, so we'll go with Annoyance and Netlings, because we're going to try and stay under 500 points here. That's what we're going with. What do we go with in Special? Is it time for the Wild Riders? Because they do hit hard. They're just so hard to control. Do we just say screw it? Because they are... Like, how many points are they? 135 for 5. For how hard they hit, they are pretty beefy. So they have Frenzy and Furious Charge. So they get up to 3 attacks each. Their weapon skill 5, which is good. And they have Hunting Spears. So that takes them to Strength 5, AP 2, Armor Bane 1. So they're like a unit with Lances, if the Lances, we know, they were held by a Strength 3 model. Do we think the FAQ came out earlier so there isn't an article? I think that maybe the communications team doesn't have the best relationship with Specialist Design Studios. That's what I think. Dragon Ogres have been nerfed. We don't get to use the quickening save as much due to less pillars. Based, yeah, you know, that's true. That's true. Does the change to measuring charge distance make controlling them easier? I guess a little bit, but they are super fast. They've got movement 9, right? Plus swift stride, so they've got, what, a declarable 19-inch move? No, 18-inch charge. It's pretty fast. So you probably want something to screen them. So if we're going Wild Riders, let's put a list in, because maybe there's a world where we take Wild Riders. We don't want standard bearers on units that are going to die in combat very easily. So do we want a musician? I don't think we care, because you're not going to flee, because you are frenzied. So let's go up to 6, and let's go 2 units of them. And we've got 2 units of Wild Riders that potentially hit very hard. And then if we're going with those, we go a couple of Great Eagles to screen them. You can give Wild Riders a Vanguard banner. Yeah, Trey. Screen them by Eagle. So you can give them the Vanguard move. Does that matter? Does that matter? I mean, it's cheap. And it gives you flexibility. Vanguard is the new scout, that's for sure. Vanguard's real good. So it's the Banner of the Hunter King, 25 points. So it's a total of 32 points for the Standard Bearer and the Banner of the Hunter King. I don't hate that at all. Wild Riders, oh, I neglected to give them shields. I know they don't wear much, but you need to give them some level of defense, because otherwise they've only got a 6-up ward from the Talismanic Tattoos. So a 5-up, 6-up is something. This puts us at 1995 points. Is this the list? Is this the list? Imagine the Razor standard on Wild Riders. That's funny. It's 1 Spellweaver or Glade Lord per 1,000 points, so we'd have to drop the Dragon if we wanted a second Spellweaver. You realise the Warbeast changed the nerf to Razorgore. Thankfully, not too much flaming in events. Yeah, that's true. That's true. They're also open order, meaning you can do the free wheel after Vanguard moving them. Oh, yeah, true. 5-up, 6-up, looks at this and asks, is this it? On a 3-up T3 model, yeah, that is it. It's, you know, if you're dying to longbows, like 50% of the time, that's a slight exaggeration, but yeah, I'm not happy about it. I feel like this is a list that I could play around with. Maybe I should test this one. Maybe I should test this one today or tomorrow and get the video out for Thursday. Would people want to see this list tested, or is there anything else that people are interested in watching? I'm not sure what I'd want to do with it. I just don't I don't love the low armor save dragon. That makes me nervous. It does make me nervous. And give him the longbow for free, and he could have one of the cheap Moonfire Shot, True Flight arrows. Sure, we'll give him True Flight arrows because we got 3 points as well. Yeah, no, that's about it. You'd watch the list tested. Yeah, I should probably give it a run out. Maybe I won't do Thursday because I think the last video I put up was a battle report. So maybe Sunday. Maybe that's when I chuck that one up, something like that. Treeman Spellweaver is pretty strong. All right, let's write that then. Let's see what we've got. So if we go Treeman, so 3 times caster. So I'm writing these lists as if the level 3, level 4 cap's coming in. So we'll do that, and we'll see if the list works. So we'll go for the Spellweaver, which I think the Spellweaver's the level 4. So that still goes in like this. The tree man comes in as a level 3, and we go for 2 of these. We give one of them the Resplendent and the Befuddlement and make it the General. I think that's a good use of my time. And then we probably go... Honestly, I think the better way to play these is to just go Battle Magic with both of them. Oh no, go Elementalism with both of them and see if we can get Plague of Rust. Because this caster, we're going to go for the Oaken Stave. And is there anything else? Oh, Ruby Ring of Ruin. We didn't put Ruby Ring in the other list, but that's fine. If you put in the Treeman Ancients, do you fill the extra points with the BSB? Oh, maybe. I'm not sure. Hassa, unfortunately, Earthen Ramparts doesn't stop stomp attacks. If you... Ancient not good. Yeah, no, I agree, John. I played a live stream game with 2 of them, and they were fun to use, but they weren't great. Elementalism only has 2 real misses, so fairly safe for level 4. They're level 3s though, so you could get unlucky. But I think this is still fine. So then we go, you still go the unit of Glade Riders with your Musician and your Glade Knight, and your Hagbane Tips and your Reserve Move. That's good. We go for the unit of 5, Hagbane Tips, Glade Guard as well, and then we've got Deepwood Scouts, 2 units of 8, Musician, Hagbane Tips, Duplicate. Oh yeah, and then we'll put the Musician in here just to get it above 500. Special units. What if we've got this list? We've got a bit of a slower list. So this is kind of where I feel like actually the Wild Riders might be kind of good, or maybe the War Dancers. War Dancers... How hard do War Dancers hit? Let's remind ourselves. I feel like War Dancers are aggressively okay, but let's see what we're working with here. War Dancers. So they remove 5 infantry. They've got Furious Charge, so that gets them up to 2 attacks. Initiative 6, so they're Initiative 10 when you combine them with... Oh, they don't have... Oh, they have Strikes First. Okay. Okay. You can give them Throwing Spears or additional hand weapons. It's going to be additional hand weapons, so they're up to 17 points per model. Yeah. What else have we got? Dancer Leok. So you give them either AP2, +1 attacks, 4 ward, or -1 to hit. So +2 attacks is going to be the best use for it, right? So you give them Furious Charge. They've got 3 attacks, weapon skill 6, so hitting on 3s most of the time. Their strength is dog shit. Like, that's so bad. They're never going to wound. It's like high volume of attacks that just does nothing. Can War Dancers even get higher strength? Yeah, that's exactly what I've just thought. They're a good defensive unit because of Skirmish and Strikes First. With 150 points left, you could also add a Shadow Dancer for some punch. Yeah, that's a point. Let's have a look at the Shadow Dancer, because maybe the Shadow Dancer can do something interesting. Weapon skill 8, 3 attacks. Okay. Strength 4, that's good as well. So they also get... They've got a special rule that gives them the... Oh, no. Yeah, there we go. So they get the Dancer of Leok. And you can give them Strength 5, AP1, Armorbane 2, Killing Blow, or you can give them an extra D3 attacks. Those both seem pretty good. Maybe Trickster's Blade. Oh, but there's no AP. But then you get the AP. Maybe that and a Potion of Strength would do it. Something like that. Strikes First Ogre Blade. It can only take 50 points of magic items, unfortunately. War Dancer Biggins. If Boar Boys can get it, why can't they? Yeah, that's a great point. I think we should see War Dancer Biggins. Just like absolutely swole, rippling muscles. That's what I'm looking for in my War Dancers. So let's live in this fantasy world. I'm not convinced it's good, but let's live in the fantasy world. So we're going to go Trickster's Blade, and we're going to go for a Potion of Strength as well. And that means for 1 turn, Potion of Strength gives you plus D3 strength, so hopefully you don't roll poorly. So let's say you get +2. You're Strength 6 natively, so you're going to have 6 attacks at Strength 6 AP2. Strikes First, Weapon Skill 8. That's not bad. That's pretty okay. The second turn, they kind of suck. But the first turn, you know, for that 1 turn, they're pretty cool. I want to add 2 more Treemen, the Ents March to War. Because Jordan and I played that list on stream, and it was awful. It was really bad. I needed my opponent to bring a bad list for me to have a chance. Giant Blade could work. Ooh. Giant Blade, because... let's just double check the... this one here. So... You just get the AP, right? It's not on non-magical attacks. It's just on all of the attacks, I think, on War Dancer. Because I actually kind of fuck with that. Yeah. The only problem is you only have 3 attacks. Oh no, you have 4 attacks. 4 attacks with Giant Blade at AP3, Strength 5 AP3, and damage 2. I kind of like that. You lose the Potion of Strength, and you get... Oh, this is going to overcap us. Oh no, it's exactly right. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. War Dancers were great in 6th. Think they had access to more AP, well then, fair. The hero does have to be in the unit to get the dancers. Yes, that's true. I do need to put the War Dancers in, so I've got... let's give them the additional hand weapons, and let's go Musician. They're going to be joined by a unit champion, by a character, so let's go to there. How many do we want to go? Let's go 8. Yeah, let's go 8. They're immune to psychology, so they're not panicking, but gives them a bit of punch. And 145 points is pretty cheap for that. Unit champ with a potion of strength. Oh, can you do that? Oh, you can do that. That honestly, that's very fun. So you've got, what does that take you up to? 2 attacks plus furious charge for 3 plus extra attacks, extra hand weapon for 4. So 4 attacks at strength 5 AP2 on average. I don't hate that. That's fun. It does get a little bit pricey. Need 3 more additional hand weapons. Thank you. Yes, I hadn't put them all in. Great stuff. So then let's go. Let's just really commit to the theme. Let's just say we're going aggressive because we're playing aggressive without a dragon. What am I doing? All right, sure, whatever. We'll go 2 units of Wild Riders as well. Sure, this is full violence. This is a full violence list. Yeah, that is something you can do. You know, that's one of the options. I'm not convinced this list is good. I will say that much. I'm not convinced that this list is good. In fact, I'm pretty convinced this list is bad. So that's... I've also put the wrong... I didn't even mean to do that. I meant to go Annoyance and Netlings, but there's not enough points for it. So let's just go like there. Full violence, better have Elks than Treemen. Yeah, 100%. This list is definitely bad. Yep, no trait, you're absolutely right. Let's write one last Wood Elf list here, which would be, as you keep calling them, Elks. Because I do like the Stags. I think they're really solid. So we go a Lord, we go a Captain, and... we definitely go a Spellweaver, so we're just going to put the same setup. We know the Spellweaver setup. We don't have to talk about it again. We're going Battle Magic, Oak and Stave. Where have you gone? Elven Steed. Let's just assume we're dry rolling on Elementalism. No, we're going to go Battle Magic. It's fine. The list is terrible. Yeah, I've closed the list. You can stop criticizing. So Great Weapon, General, Shield, Freebow, Great Stag. The Great Stag is great, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen. So you start off with light armor and a shield, so you've got a 5-up save. Then you attach a Stag, which gives you +1 toughness and wound, so it takes you to, on a Lord, 4 wounds at T4, which doesn't sound amazing, but, you know, it's for an elf, it's good. But it also gives you Armored Hide 2, which takes you to a 3-up save, and then you combo it with any one of the magic items that you can do. Maybe we go triple Stag. Maybe that's the list. So... let's go, let's assume we're going triple Stag. So he's got heavy armor plus shield, so that's a 4-up, and then he's got Armored Hide 2 to get him to a 2-up save, and he's got a 4-up water save as well. So he's tanky. The Great Stag do. That's a good name for it, yeah. So then we'll go for a second one. Again, we're going Great Weapon, and we're going to go Stag. Let's just duplicate this because we're going to go 2 of them. So magic items... we definitely want to go for... oh, yes. Yeah, you can't go for the -1 to hit helm. -1 to hit armor, but bedazzling helm? Whatever it's called. Because it's 60-odd points. That is a bugger. Why are all musicians for Tomb Kings equipped with breath-based weapons? They have no lungs. That's a good point. I'm just going to say magic. That's the answer that I've got here. So the Mantle's light, yeah. So Helm of the Hunt gives you +1 to your save, and it gives you +1 weapon skill and attack to the turn you charge. So it basically turns the second, like the captain into a pseudo lord on the charge. And we'll go with the free longbow there as well. Normally this guy gets the forest spites, the netlings, and befuddlement and mischief, so he's hard to deal with in a challenge. And then this one's going to be harder to equip because he needs to have some sort of armor that is good, and there is no armor that is good for him. Maybe we just can't get a third one to a 2-up save. Lots of stags, then still taking Sisters Delivery. They're far better than Wild Riders. Yeah, I could see that. I don't hate that. And then you could, like, fish for Arcane Urgency or something like that. Talisman on it. So this one has a 50-point... Oh, right, you're saying give this one a Talisman. Yeah. It's just a bit of a bugger that there's not even heavy armor in here that I could take. Yeah. The caster needs to have Ruby Ring of Ruin. So let's go... Yeah, let's give it a go. I'm not sold that it's good if it hasn't got a 2-up save, even if it's got 3-up, 5-up. But, you know, it is what it is. So you've got that. You've got the free longbow as well. Melee Sisters don't mind taking the hammer hand so much either. That's true, Winslow. That's a very good point. So we're going to go 2 units of Sisters of the Thorn. We don't need to give them any bigger. This unit's going to have a magic standard and go for the Vanguard banner. The other one's not going to have a banner at all. Into core, we just go for, like... I think this is a very efficient core. There are reasons to do things other than this, but it's if we're just filling out points, we can definitely look at writing it the same as we have previously. Hagbane Tips, reserve move. There we go. Cool. And then what else have we got? We've still got 350 points. Not sure the Ancient is included in the Lord Cap. It's not. An Ancient is separate in terms of what you're allowed to take. But it's just not very good. So, yeah. What do we put in here? I think this list benefits from Wild Riders. So let's go 2 units of Wild Riders, give them shields, go 2 units of 6, and yeah, that's basically a list. Upgrade Captain to Lord, take Ancient instead of Weaver. No, Ryan, that's not good because you can't take magic items on the Spellweaver. And also, I think we'd run out of points by doing that because the Ancient upgrade is like 400 and something from memory. Hassa says, what happens if you doppelganger with a great weapon, but the caster is killed in combat before the initiative of the weapon hits you? Still muddling over the FAQ. You just don't get to make the hits, which is bad. Need champions for Sisters to get improvement to bound spell level. Yeah. Are we taking them for casting spells? I guess we're taking them for hammer hand, so you may as well take the captain. But then, screw it. Let's just take the standard on both. Then we're 9 points over, and we can just drop something. Yeah, I mean, like going down to 5 in the second unit or something like that, and then adding some models here or something like that. You know, you can tweak around with that. Cool. Well, yeah, no, I think that's about it for the Wood Elf building. Oh, I forgot that I didn't even realise I was so small in the corner of the screen up there. I did say the tech would be slightly scuffed because I was having some tech issues. Is there a world where Warhawk riders can be usable? They don't shoot hard enough, but the Hawk's melee weapons isn't bad. I don't think there is because Bretonnians. Bretonnians got better. Some of their competition got worse. And yeah, Bretonnians with the Falcon Horn just mean that you don't get to use them. Because if you look at a Warhawk rider, movement 2. What Sisters needs to be is to be 30 points cheaper, but the command be 15 points per model rather than 5. I mean, they were good. I don't know that they need to be cheaper. For 120 points for 5 cavalry with all the rules they have, I think that's probably still fine. It's probably still fine. Well, are there any things that people want me to go over before we are done for the stream this afternoon? I do have to get some food. I wasn't expecting to be eating. I wasn't expecting to be streaming at this time. It was a very much drop plans and go. No BSB captain. Yeah, the BSB's good. You could definitely put that in as well. Cannonballs, brimstone horrors are made of fire and now fear fire. Yes, but they're immune to psychology, Hassa. So basically what it means is that if you have a flaming weapon and you want to charge the unit of brimstone horrors, you don't have to take the fear test. That's the difference. We were talking about looking at Way Watchers, but the Waystalk attacks kills it. May need to talk another 30 minutes on cannibals. Oh god, I'm so hungry. I'm so unenthusiastic about cannibals. I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. Let's go back to cannibals. Why am I doing this to myself? Alright. Jordan says no, don't do it. Yeah, Jordan, I know. Moments taken before disaster. yeah, that's fair. Let's just have one last look at it and then we can call it. So, Change the second bullet point to, if the path of the cannonball meets a hill, impassable terrain, or high linear obstacle, it stops immediately. No further models are hit. And then if we go to the book, and we need to go to crunch. So I think the thing that I missed initially was that it followed this. I read the rule in the FAQ and foolishly thought that that would clarify things, but because I hadn't looked at the actual book, where it says sometimes a bouncing cannonball will encounter something that stops it dead. So, and it's changed to once it bounces. So I think you can still target a hill, and then when it bounces, it immediately stops on the hill. So you can drop it on the top of people on a hill. It's pretty clear they can target a point of the hill. They then can't bounce at all. They can still bounce through woods. Yeah, I think that's right. I think I just misunderstood because I didn't have the context of the crunch. Simon says, I can't wait to play the new Wood Elf army I made for the tourney. That sucks for you, Simon. So it's one of those things where, like, I absolutely have empathy for you, especially if you don't play all that much. It's one of those armies that it's a very negative play pattern that realistically shouldn't exist in the game. The 5 Pillar of Fire list is so unfun to play against, and I am pro it being nerfed, but I do have sympathy for people who were getting into the hobby and maybe playing it. So yeah, it's difficult. I think you rebased all your skin wolves 6 months ago. Hey, you get to do it again. Yeah. I mean, it should have been FAQ'd earlier. I don't know why that one wasn't just added. What I'd like to see from Games Workshop is just adding little bits and pieces to, like, things that need to be sorted. So, like, 2 weeks after an army book comes out or an arcane journal comes out, just tweaking it so they're like, oh, here's the things that, like, need to be fixed for the army to work. First it shoots, then it lands and bounces. It's the bounce that can't travel up a hill. That's correct. Thank you, Nisgard. You've made that very, very clear. I was playing Combat Bus Sisters unit that the Ranulph gave correct characters to 4 board. Yeah, that, like, it is rules as written, but also that feels like some kind of gimmicky. I don't feel good about a unit imparting rules onto its models. I just bought a full 3D printed Wood Elf army based around Sister the Thorn and Pillar and Cool. Yeah, but, like, it's bad for the game. Like, I have them. Look, here's some Wood Elves that I've started painting. I am also a victim of this, but yeah, they shouldn't be. It shouldn't be in the game. I feel like the bounce can't enter the hill, but it feels like it should be able to bounce the hill. All right, I think we're just going to devolve into insanity if we go any further. Thank you so much, everyone who's tuned in. I hope you've had a great time. If you are a regular viewer and you've been interacting in chat, it's been great having you. If you're new, you've been interacting, lovely to see you as well. Do check out the Discord. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I do put out a lot of content, obviously looking at usually 2 videos and 2 streams a week. At the moment, I'm streaming on Wednesdays as well, doing some variety streams. The next one, I'll probably be playing some Warhammer Chaos Bane on Wednesday morning at 10 AM GMT. On Friday, I've got a stream game. I haven't lined up what I'm playing yet, but there'll be some sort of game happening at 8 PM GMT on Friday. There'll be a video coming on Thursday, video coming on Sunday as well. And yeah. Really excited about 2025 for Old World. A lot of positivity on this channel for the game. I think it's in a great place, having a great time. Thanks everyone for coming down.